As you see the title, we're doing Herstory, Hisstory 3, Matriarchy to Patriarchy, Understanding Atum / Minis and Royal Succession. We're going to be dealing with the Bible today. And another thing I want you guys to keep in mind, if you're new to this, you ain't quite true to this. So that means you ain't quite, got your FMFP stamp yet. Let me quit playing. What I'm trying to say is this. You have to been following my work to understand what I'm going to teach today. So if you, for the most part, if you've seen Herstory, His Story Part 1 and Part 2, this is Part 3 to that. So Herstory, His Story Part 2 dropped today on brosancheztv. And as you catch up with that, you can just plug this one into the series whenever you, I don't know where you at in the series, but here we go. I was going to do a part of the series live, so here we go with Part 3. Now, let me go ahead and let you guys know something else before we get into this. I got a bunch of tabs open on my computer, and this lecture, this presentation that we're about to get into is somewhat organized, but for the most part, I'm going to kind of be all over the place. This is why I say it's important for you to watch the first two videos, Herstory, His Story Part 1 and Part 2. Me being all over the place ain't going to hinder you if you saw those two. So I dropped those so I can be able to do what I'm doing now. I've laid the foundation. So if you watch those two, you should be fine. But I'm going to do a very, very brief recap before I hop into this Part 3. And then we're going to crank it on up so we can get into the story at hand. Now, let me go and start this. And thank y'all for being patient, tuning in. Do me a favor. Hit the like button and hit the share button. Hit the like button. Hit the share button. Ain't going to cost you nothing. Now, let me also say I am not looking at the chat room because I got these tabs open. So let's get into this. Now, if you saw Herstory, His Story Part 1 and 2, we talked a lot of how we come from the Garden of Eden into this patriarchal New World Order system that we're in today. We talked about the timeline evolution deception with Darwinism and the 8 creatures that's blasphemy to the ancestors. We talked about the gardening-based structured societies, the gardening societies that we once dwelled in, and how we end up into these meat-eating hellhole societies today. You got a good idea of all that if you've been following me with the series. So we also talked about in that series the rise of the first kings, the first popes, the first royal families. We talked about the first king being Norma Menes. And we also said that this King Norma and Menes was synonymous with Adam in the Bible. Okay, so in this video today, I'm going to kind of move on now. You should be where I need you to be at, where I don't have to keep repeating myself. So we left Eden, and when we were kicked out of the garden, Adam was given dominion over the woman, child, and the animals and the earth. This was a mythological way of saying we're going from matriarchy to patriarchy. So Adam represents the first male ruler after the woman was cursed in the garden and balance was cursed. The name Eve is a symbol for balance. You flip it around, it still says Eve. It means balance, even. Now, that was cursed because she represents Ma'at. In order for males to rule, there have to be chaos. So males rule out of chaos, and goddesses rule out of love, the golden rule. We'll talk about that later. So we understand that this biblical Adam is a deity, a character in a book, a mythological book that represents a real ruler. Would have been your first real world pope that started his genetics and occupied the throne at the end of those gender wars that we spoke of. So the first ruler was known as Atum to the Sumerians, and that became the Christians' Adam. The first man to rule over the women, children, and blase, blase. The first man to give birth out of a womb. In other words, this was a change of succession from matriarchy to patriarchy. We went over how prior to this, we had family crests. After this, we had national flags, which symbolized slavery. So getting kicked out of the garden is getting kicked out of sovereignty, getting kicked out of vegan-based societies that thrive because we chose to be governed over by males, and we want them to go hunt for us and provide it all for us instead of us being gatherers like we were having a relationship with the earth. We went over all of that. So if you didn't see those first two parts, catch up, because I'm going to go on further here. So we know that Adam in Genesis represents the genetics of Atum, the first ruler. All right, so you got to learn how to decode the Bible. Now, don't worry about this collage that you're looking at in front of you. We'll go over that in a minute. Since we established now we're dealing with the book of Genesis, because most of us from a Christian background, we're going to look at this beginning of the New World Order and the rise of this first Pharaoh from the biblical and Sumerian perspective, as well as many others. So keep that in mind. Adam is Atum, which is Narmer Menes. We already talked about the guy with the double crown. He wore the double crown. So the double crown became the double arches. Stay with me. The word crown is also dealing with the word corona, dealing with the word crest, cross. You know that Jesus wore a crown of thorns, but that crown of thorns is really a ripoff from the crown of horns that the goddess wore. So when you look at ancient goddesses in Kemet in a lot of places around the world, you'll see that they had a crown of horns. For example, the goddess Hathor had horns. These goddesses had horns, and that became the devil when they cursed the women goddesses. But those horns represent those two arms on that organ called the uterus. And you can see the uterus in the middle beneath the McDonald's symbol. That's the uterus of the woman. Now, to the left of that is the male's testes. And that's going to be important because when we deal with the word testes, you're dealing with the word testament. To the left of those testes is the first Pharaoh, Narmer or Menes, with his arm raised and an erected penis. Men, this is where we get the saying, all I have is my balls and my words. Now, that saying is an ancient saying when the first male mobs or first male secret societies first rose to power. Those first male secret societies would have been a network of royal families that rose to power after those gender wars. So after the gender wars, there was the Genesis that you read about in the Bible. And there was a new covenant. That's why you open up that Bible, and the Old Testament is really a New Testament. The New Testament is really a third testament. That's why Jesus represents the Son, which is the Trinitarian aspect. The first testament was the mother, the law of the land, the law of nature. What was built on top of that law or that order was a new world order, what started with the Old Testament in Genesis. And when this Old Testament is synonymous with the old kingdoms of Egypt, you need to take out your pen and pad if you won't need to and write that down. This Old Testament holds the succession and genealogy of the old kingdoms. Please, people, pay attention. So with that in mind, you see the word testes sounds similar to the word testament. And there's two testaments in the Bible. You have two testes. You know, you have two balls, as we call them, god dog it. You know, and these two balls, all right, is what creates East and West world. You can look at them as two rulers because you're talking about two kings that began their royal succession out of that Greco-Egyptian unification when the Greeks unified with the Egyptians. That became what we call East and West world today. Now, this Greco-Egyptian mentality is what makes up the Western world. And all of what was the old world science and knowledge is what the Hindus and Eastern world, the Dalai Lama and them, still holding. But they're masking it up with a new age makeup to take you away from the mother, just like they doing in the Western world. So they doing the same thing, but what the Eastern world has a lot of this old matriarchal stuff there. And you can see that they recently changed their goddesses into deities like Krishna, Shiva, and etc. To replace the mother goddess Kali and the ones previous before her. So they do what we're looking at in the Eastern world is they're at a early portion of their transitioning than the Western world, and they're trying to catch up to this crazy, way of living that we in today. But to make a long story short, these two testaments hold a succession of these two rulers and these two networks that dominate these two hemiplanes of the earth. I would have said hemisphere, but I'm going to say hemiplane. I'm a flat earther. So keep that in mind. Testes testament. Now, when the Pharaoh got on the throne, he had a council of men who ruled and helped him rule like your president who was beneath him. He was sort of a representative. All right. Now, when he got on the throne, he had to swear in to this brotherhood that basically how the president do today. The president go and raise his hand and swear in when he get elected. The word elected is erected. The word a president being elected became a mythological way of saying Jesus being resurrected. So the first form of a male being a born God was Adam. We already knew people existed before Adam and Eve, and that this is just a myth. So what is this story telling you? They ain't telling you Adam was the first man. They telling you he was the first ruler created by God. Now, all of us are created by quote unquote God or the creator. But when we talk about the word God, we mean blessed by the gods, blessed by the powerful men at the time. The title was God at that time. It wasn't no governor. You was a lord. But it was the equivalent of me saying, hey, President Obama, of them saying, hey, Lord Obama. But it was still just a term, a political term. You got to keep in mind that the church was the government. So these terms like bishop and lord was talking about political figures. So one of those key political figures was this guy Menes, who you see swearing in. We pledge of allegiance this way. And there's a lot of things we do in this position. For example, you see the lady next to him in court. When you go to court, you have to take this oath and you have to swear on what? The Bible. Why the Bible? Everyone's not a Christian. So why they give you the Bible? Because it ain't got nothing to do with the religion of Christ. You're swearing on a succession of the first king. You're swearing on the blood, the literal blood of a family bloodline. So Genesis is the genetics and a book of royal succession. And we're going to crack that code even deeper as we go on. So keep this collage in mind, because we're finna crank it up there with some symbolism and more stuff. Now, these golden arches that McDonald's give you are very, very, very symbolic. The symbol of double arches, guys, you have to keep in mind, is one of the most sacred symbols in the ancient world, and especially when we deal with sacred geometry. These double arches represents the breasts of the woman. Now, the first deity was the Madonna and Child, symbolizing the life-giving and life-sustaining that the life-giving and life-sustaining properties that the female body gives us all. So the ancients acknowledged that, and they acknowledged that this was the gateway and portal and lifeline to their human existence was the female's biology. Now, with that in mind, they created things like the Madonna and Child, where you see the baby sucking on the nipples. You also see a lot of ancient goddesses with their breasts hanging out. If you pull up any pre-dynastic goddesses, 9 times out of 10, their breasts is hanging out. And those double arches symbolizes life. When the baby comes out of the womb, it knows to find those double arches. You don't have to teach the baby that, because nature speaks to us in sacred geometry, and those double arches are one of the most key sacred geometrical tools that nature uses to converse with us without even saying nothing. Because the symbol is the loudest thing, but the quietest thing, and is worth 1,000 words. I take that back. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but a symbol is worth 1,000,000 pictures. Now you do the math on that. So keeping in mind that this double arch symbol is very symbolic, you can see it when we deal with the uterus down below. You see those double arches that makes the uterus, and you come out of those double arches, and you look for those breasts, which is the double arches that you look for milk. This is something animals do too. Sacred geometry. Nature is so awesome. It knows, it creates the symbols, and it knows, it programs you to recognize the symbol. Okay, no different than them using logos and corporations today. If you see those double arches, you say McDonald's in your brain automatically. So the symbol is louder than the word, because the symbol is what provokes you to say the word. If I show you a line on a paper, you're going to say that's a number 1 without me even saying it. So the symbol came before the word. Remember that. Now, what we got to realize when we deal with the symbol is it's a fractal code, and you can be hypnotized, and this symbol can be hijacked if somebody know what they're doing. This is what people call in occult practices. But what it's doing is basically, if you don't understand the code of nature, someone who does can use it against you. All right, that's all it is. Now, testament, testes, double arches. Keep all of this in mind, because the symbol that represents life is double arches. This is why the number 8 is the symbol of infinity, eternity, and the hourglass is the symbol of eternity. That's your double arches, your breast. This is life. All right, keep that in mind. This is your testes on the male as well. But now, for the first time when we deal with atum, a number, normer, we was being ruled under through the testes, as opposed to in the ancient pre-dynastic time, we was ruled over by the uterus. Now, what do I mean when I say ruled over? The word rule means measure. Measure. Now let's crank it up and get deep so I can show you what I mean. When we talk about succession, the root word of the word succession is success. Don't you know that it's literally that simple? What creates rich and poor it simply boils down to success and failure. The difference between you and a homeless man is success and failure. So keep that in mind when I talk to you today about succession. If someone is constantly succeeding, all they do is win, win, win no matter what. Remember the song? They get nothing but W's, baby. That's called succession. That means you undefeated for like years, man. That's called a succession. And it means you've been winning for so damn long that you gotta pass down your goddamn succession to the next generation. Can you imagine that? So we're talking about these royal families have been succeeding over the masses for the past 7,000 years, meaning they've been winning and you've been losing. It's been rich and poor. It's been success and failure. In other words, chaos. Because in nature, there is no success and failure. In nature, there's only succession. There's only cycle, recycling, repetition of the seeds, and everybody winning. Everybody growing fruits and thriving in a garden-based society. Ain't no competition. Everybody thriving, winning, helping one another. So ain't no succession being passed down. It's being passed around. So there's a difference when we talk matriarch and patriarch. Matriarch is cycles of time, and patriarch is linear time. So when you deal with the genesis or the genetics of Adam in the NWO succession, you dealing with what's called a lineage. And the word lineage has the root word line. This is why the world we live in today is dominated by something called a timeline. The ancient world didn't have a timeline. They had cycles of time that constantly recreate themselves like eclipses in a 360-day calendar to represent the sky. But that's another video. Keep in mind what we're under now is linear time, because when you create order out of chaos, the crown, only one person can rule at a time. That don't mean one man on the throne. That one man on the throne is just a representation of this one person, which is really like a 10% group of network of families. The one person on the throne, when I say he's ruling, is not just one dude ruling. It's him and a network of families. Like if you go to Brother Sanchez family reunion, you're going to see my name on the back of the shirt and about 10 more other names that's different, but we all the same family. So it's a network of families that's still one family that run it all. But these families has ranks too. Some of the families that make these networks are more powerful than the other ones. So this is how you determine who gonna be what and get what and be on a throne and get into all of that stuff, you know, with your popes and all of that good stuff. But just to stay on subject with these double arches and the symbolism with the testament and the testes, you testify. So when the first ruler rose to power and started the NWO in Kemet, he had to take an oath and testify. And he had to give and be open and transparent, just like if you join a gang or a mob, they gonna want to know everything about you, man. They trusting you with money. They telling you where they drugs at. They telling you where they guns at. They want to know where your grandma stay, what school your daughter go to, secrets about you. Listen, you can't join these societies if you ain't transparent. If you like your privacy, you can kiss being a Mason goodbye, because these guys can come into your house. They can control you when you take this oath. And, you know, so these first, we talked about in the first series how the male hunting coats and the Stone Age wars, the Garden Wars that took us out of the pre-dynastic time and brought us into the New World Order. We talked about those wars and how this throne was established with Narmer. Now what I'm showing you is the process by which the establishment took place, the processes that they underwent. So when he was on the throne, he was elected there the same way we elect a president today. Now the root word El is the name of God. El is a name of God. So when you elect the president, you're really electing a God. So election is a form of basically selecting your, just to be in simple terms, I don't want to be vulgar, but the word Pharaoh and Phallus, when you deal with the PH8, is dealing with, when you have a Pharaoh, that means a ruler that's a male. So the word Pharaoh is basically people being ruled over by the Phallus. So for example, when you elect the Pharaoh, which is a form of God, a male ruler is a name, as a way of saying a God. That's why the guys say, "What up, God?" and this and that. But when the male rulers assumed the throne, chaos was created because the measurements was different. So when you talk about rulers, these are people who measure the sustenance in nature out and distribute it to the people. When we had goddesses in the matriarchal world, everything was even, like how Ma'at wings is spread evenly. It was balanced. And you notice that the mother goddess raised both of her hands to symbolize that balance. The mother goddess had both of her arms raised high like the referee do for touchdown. So you can see when this was changed to the patriarchy here with Norma, he's only raising one hand. This is an unbalanced rule. This is a secret society oath, meaning a bunch of us keeping the secret from a bunch of you, and automatically that's imbalance and it ain't fair. So the very conception of male rulership is not fair, because males wasn't meant to write the law. Males were meant to enforce the law only. Women were the writers of the law. Men were the enforcers of it. Women were the architects. Men were the builders. That's why you get the term Mason, which is the son of a ma, which is a builder. Now, there's a lot to go over, so this may seem lengthy, but stay with me. It's going to be worth your time. So, we talk about these double arches. We talk about the whole symbolism of these double arches coming from goddesses like Hathor. You know what I'll do? Everyone may not know what I mean. So why don't I show what I mean as I talk? So you see goddesses like this, which was some of your primordial goddesses, predating all the gods. And this is just another form of many more deities. So she was a form of the serpent goddess. You can see the serpent here. When we look at Hathor, we see these two horns. Now, a horn is a thorn. They both can stick you and prick you. So when you look at the word thorn, if you take the T off, it's the word horn. So the thorns are the horns. Now these horns on the head of the goddess became the thorns on the head of Jesus. So it's going to take me a while doing this live because I'm going to have to be pulling up stuff as I go. So Jesus wore this on his head as he was bloodying himself on the cross. This is desecration of the goddess, people. The real cross is the uterus in the middle of this collage. It looked like a capital T. It's shaped like the Christian cross. And it's bloody. And when life comes from that cross, it's bloody. When a baby is born, it comes out of its mother bloody. And the mother went through the most painful experience that a human can imagine. Childbirth is the most painful pain on the earth. Nothing can equate to it. So when they give you this story of Jesus going through all of this pain that nobody can imagine, the kind of pain that he went through, there is blasphemy. They're cursing the womb. They had to personify the womb as a man when they changed the royal succession. Everyone had a matrilineal system based upon the uterus that they came out of and the blood of their mother that covered them and redeemed them and gave them their heavenly inheritance. By you being born of a mother, you had a right to the land and a plot, man. You had acres already there when you was in your womb that they was preparing for you and prepare. All they had to do was go work the land and prepare the land for you. That was your inheritance. By the time you grew up, your parents had invested in that land and it was already ready for you to just maintain. And now you know how to be a good gardener like your parents and maintain the land. And the land kept on expanding. The more we had children, the more we worked the land and had more hands to expand the land. So the more we turned jungle land into gardening land and kind of made our small little settlements expand based upon generations. And each generation had new land. We weren't creating the land out of nowhere. It was so much land around. When you drive around today, look how much free land you pass by. Why ain't nobody occupying it? I'm trying to tell you now, because we left the gardens to come to the cities. Before the cities and the first male rulers, everyone was scattered about in these mountains and these woods that we passing by today that you can't find a soul in. We left that, y'all. We was out there in that jungle and all that with them animals. We were scattered about. Now we stacked on top of each other in concentrated areas. Why? Because this where the meat at. This where the slaughterhouses at. This where the money at. This where the... See, when you see how deep this system is, I'm going to the root of what fuels it. It's the slaughterhouses that fuse it. Money is an illusion. People spend their money to eat, man, and you gotta eat. You gotta work to eat. If you don't have to work to do nothing else, you gotta work to eat. So you might not want fancy cars or nice houses, or you might not want, you know, the women and all of this luxuries that life got to offer. You might not want nothing, but you need food, you need water, and that costs money. So what took us out of nature? Because nature gave us food and water for free. Well, I'm explaining that we forfeited all of that when we left our land to go live in concentrated areas and work for other men. You can still see that transition and take place now with people coming from these rich countries over here to be American citizens. Think about what I'm telling you, right? You got people from Mexico who got acres of land. They family got acres of land. And they coming over here to America to work at goddamn Domino's. Y'all ain't playing. You can go to Africa right now. People got acres of land. They got acres of land. But they can't wait to get over here to America to go work at McDonald's. So you can see now how they sold this lifestyle today and was doing it back then. Making people give up their land like they getting something better. But it's not. So there's a trick. So you look at the first parts of the series and you can see exactly how the transition took place. But let's get on subject. This crown of thorns is really the crown of horns that was stolen from the goddess. And you can see that she has that red circle on her head symbolizing the star Aldebaran, but also symbolizing childbirth, symbolizing fertility, the cosmic egg, the dung beetle egg. She's a form of the dung beetle that carried the egg, symbolizing the womb of the woman, the birthing process. Okay, so the bulge of the woman's belly is an arch, all right? And that arch is very, very important because the arch is really the cosmos. And we go over that in a lot of videos. But let me show you how this relates to this whole story of Jesus. The arch, again, when we talk about this uterus is the crossroads. You come in and out of existence through it. And each time you're covered in blood and it costs a mother some pain. This is the story of Jesus. Instead of them giving credit to all the women on earth for giving birth out of their uterus, when they changed the succession and cursed the woman and put the man on the throne, they personified a female organ as a male. So you got Jesus covered in blood because we know in childbirth, the female vagina is covered in blood. The baby's covered in blood. And this is what Jesus is trying to tell you. And the thorns symbolize the pain of childbirth. But that crown of thorns, again, come from the word horns, thorns and horns. They both prick you. So we got that symbolism out the way. We understand Jesus representing the uterus. He's another form of Adam. See, in order for you to be born again, you got to go through Jesus, right? If you're a Christian. That's blasphemy and it's homosexuality. Men can't give birth, y'all. In order for you to be born again, you go through your mother. And you keep going through the womb of a mother. It ain't going to never be a time where you be born out of a man. The only time you see that is in this fake biblical story. And that's just a story and it's a mythology and it's a lie to hide the truth. They had to put a womb on Adam because Adam was the first Jesus. Remember that? Adam gave birth to Eve. So in order for the woman and children to be born in Genesis, they had to come out of the man. That's backwards as hell, y'all. That's backwards. Can't y'all see what they trying to reverse the roles in our spirituality and create this homosexual transgender world today? It start on a spiritual level. Men, women, what you think about your God will have a lot to do with your sexuality, man. The God of the Bible don't have a woman. He rule alone. And most of these men today in power to tell you we don't love them hoes, but they stay surrounded by a bunch of homeboys. Ain't that what Jesus did? You never saw Jesus with a woman. He kept going around with men all day. And that's the world you see today, a bunch of men together ruling it, talking shit to their wives, leaving them, treating them like shit, trying to get less child support payments, Just, a man's world, dogging the woman out. The more love you got for a woman, the more soft you are. You ain't no alpha male, man. You loving them hoes. But you can love your homeboys, though. Don't that sound gay? That's what the first male cults was all about that started in Egypt. If you see this God on the bottom left, he has an erected phallus. Now, if you look above his head, you can see him carved on the pyramids. And you can see those two pillars on his head that later became the 10 Commandments. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Now, when he's swearing in, he's giving his testimony. He's testifying. He's giving an oath. He's confessing to the brotherhood. All right. And during this process, homosexual acts took place, just like they do today when men sell their souls. This is what solidifies you in the brotherhood, a homosexual act. You say, why a homosexual act, Brother Sanchez? Well, to be a patriarchal ruler, to be fully patriarchal, is to despise the womb itself and the woman species altogether. The first male rulers went on raids to burn up women. I hope y'all know that there were whole Holocaust and raids that were just to get rid of women alone. They still doing it in China today. If you was born in China and you have a daughter and a son, they gonna kill the daughter. You can't have no daughters in China. You can only have a son. So it's still going on today, the war on the womb. They want to get rid of the portal so they can control how humans come and go on the earth. They really want to have it controlled to where they manufacture the human out of a lab and get rid of the woman altogether. Just like they taking the seeds out of the fruit, this would be the same thing. You're basically taking away the woman. You take which we're able to reproduce the human seed. So they want to have GMO humans as well, ones that aren't born, they're manufactured. And to do this, you have to get rid of this thing called a womb because it's in the way. It's in the way, and they hate it, man. So they cursed this womb and everything that make it divine, and they gave all of that to the male. So people will cry and they'll hoop and holler and jump up and down because Jesus died on the cross when it's just a story. It didn't really happen. But don't nobody give their mama credit like that she went through 9 months of pregnancy, uncomfortable and pain. Do you know how much pain that was? Not just when she gave birth, but throughout the 9 months. So, and after that, how she had to nurse you on the nipple. That's a lot of sacrifice your mama went through. She made you out of the fabric of her very flesh. And if you ask me, when I see people jump up and down for Jesus in church, I think we should do that for our mothers. See, this right here will create a respect for the womb, which we all come from, and the number one cause of death, which is abortion, will go away. See, nobody respect life and fruitfulness. We throwing the babies away so we can get good jobs. And that go back to what I was saying, women, how we left our sovereignty in our garden-based world when we was fruitful and the family was together because we was gatherers. Today we hunters, we in hunting societies. Back then we was in garden gathering societies, and the family was together because we was gathering together. Everybody worked the garden together. But when the man was hunting, the women and children stayed home. So that was your first secret societies right there. Now we everybody eventually left and went and became hunters today, but we ain't got guns looking for animals. We playing this game called capitalism, and we on a hunt for the next dollar bill. So they just changed the game, but it's still the Hunger Games. If you don't work, you don't eat. All right. But the foundation of all of it is resources, food, water, shelter. Now let's continue, because what we looking at on the far left is the Pharaoh Norma when he rose to power in 3100 BC, taking his oath with an erected phallus. And that's important to keep in mind when we talk about these homosexual acts that were synonymous with the rise of these people. You know, when you get in power, there's a lot of homosexuality going on with these millionaires, billionaires. But the reason if you look at the picture above him, you see him with the erected phallus carved in stone, and a guy next to him coming to anoint him, welcome him as the ruler, so to speak. And you can see that guy have a skirt on, and he have an erection underneath his skirt. Yes, I know this is sick, but stay with me, okay? I'm going to try to be less vulgar and move on through it quick as I can. Yes, what you're looking at is homosexuality. So what we're looking at is you have to be able to get an erection from a man for them to know that you really about that life. You just can't lie to them and be like, well, yeah, man, you know, I want to join y'all society. I'm going to keep the secret. I'm going to swear the oath. And when it come down to the homosexual part, it's iffy. Meaning when they start trying you with the gay crap, because you talking about you want to swear in and you want to join this secret society. When they go to coming at you with this gay crap and they see you ain't getting turned on, right there, you just marked yourself for death. They know you ain't real. That's the same way if you a dope dealer and you want to make sure the person you buying this dope from ain't the police. So you're gonna be like, look here, man, I want to see you do some of this dope. Snort some of this dope up your nose. I want to see you use it. If he don't use it, they gonna kill him. You 5-0. They ain't gonna trust that because you didn't use it. Everybody in that world uses it. So if you part of this initiation in these societies, in this boule, in these male homosexual secret society, powerful cults, you have part of you joining is doing homosexual acts. They want to know that you're unnatural. They want to know that you have the same mindset that they have. And one way they know is when they try you with the gay stuff, if you get turned on, they ain't got to question it. Because if you straight, no matter what, you ain't going to get turned on. Now, I know you hear a lot of talk. Well, that man ain't really gay. He just got turned on because he was thinking about the money. So he did the gay act because he really just wanted to get the money, but he really a gangster. But he just, did it for the money. No, if he was able to get an erection from a man, then that's homosexuality. If you able to get an erection from money, that's homosexuality. Because some people, they do. Some women, some men will tell you they love their money more than they woman. And that money turn them on more than females. That's homosexuality because there's no women on the money. So they're in love with the man's world. There's only men on that money. Okay? So keep that in mind. So it's linked to your sexuality, people. It's linked to your sexuality. You want power. They want to know that you're on the same frequency they are. And we're talking about sick homosexual men. They only got wives for front. They don't have sex with their wives. They sleep in different rooms and their wives know that they're gay. Their wives are all part of this sick stuff. Their wives doing sicker stuff than them. These people sick. We talking about real blood sacrifices. I wouldn't put past the fact that I do think that they probably eat children and all of that, because the early gods that they created ate the children. So a lot of things we hear in the conscious communities is true when we talk about how sick these people are, to the point people call them reptilians, because we don't think that you can be this sick and still be human. But yes, they are human. They are not no reptilians. It's just another lifestyle that the royal families live separate from what we live. It's two different worlds. They don't even have the same thoughts that the average human have, man. We talking about the people who print the money. They don't work for it. They actually print the fucking money. The families that create the world we live in. Can you imagine the kind of thoughts on their mind? It ain't what kind of job I'm going to get or how I'm going to pay this bill. It's bigger thoughts you can't even imagine, because you've never been in this huge place of power. But if you only knew the sick things that they do to get this power, you will see you entered another world when you deal with these secret societies. That's why they call themselves secret societies, because the things they do makes them a whole nother society to themselves. And what they do, if all of us knew how deep it was, the world would change if we knew how sick the rulers were. And these secret societies would no longer be secretive. And that's going on right now with brothers like myself and plenty more like you guys who spreading the knowledge, waking people up, and it's no longer a secret. So, and when you see the Pharaoh swearing in with his hand raised, with an erected phallus, it is just what I'm telling you. When you join these secret societies, you swear in, just like when you go to court. But in court, they don't tell you to do no gay stuff, okay? So what they do in court is subconscious homosexuality. The Bible, the two testaments represent the two testes of the first king. So this first king named Norma is who we looking at swearing in with the erected phallus. And if you look on his head, he got the two pillars which became the 10 commandments, and we're going to talk about them commandments later. But them two pillars is also synonymous with his his testes. All he got is his balls and his words. Males, when you swear in, if you don't do what you're supposed to do and you break your oath, back in the day, they chop your balls off. And that's their way of saying we're cutting off your lineage. So the book of Genesis is dealing with royal succession and the bloodline through the male phallus or the pharaoh. And if that pharaoh do something wrong, they cut his lineage. Literally, by cutting off his balls, they stop his royal succession. I hope y'all see how this works. It's spiritual and literal. Okay? By literal cutting off his phallus, they end his lineage. They stop him from producing someone to occupy the throne after him. So this is deep science that I'm giving you guys. Now, the first pharaoh that swore in with his testes testified, gave a testimony, and created the first testament, or the Old Testament, which is the Old Kingdom. And you see him here with his erected phallus. And I ain't even gonna go into that no more. I said enough about why he's got a hard on and why the gentleman next to him got one too. I'm not gonna keep talking about it. You heard me. Rewind it. It's sick, okay? But if you want the money, you got to be ready to give up some booty. Now check this out. One thing I'm gonna tell y'all is this, because I'm losing my train of thought here. Genetics, Genesis. We're being ruled over through the phallus. This is Norma Menes, this first guy. Okay, said he took the first oath of the New World Order. He was the first pharaoh to swear into presidency and to rule the first government. Do you hear what I'm saying? Get your notebooks out. This was the first oath taker into the brotherhood and the first ruling dynasty. He took the first oath as ruler. And that first oath, okay, is the oath that we all swear on today. So earlier when I told you in the courtroom, they giving you psychological homosexuality because What happens when you join a boule is literal homosexuality. Ain't no psychological nothing. You got to get an erection so that they know you about that life. Now, they know everybody that's living ain't about that life, but they subliminally give us homosexuality. For example, when you go to court and you swear in and take an oath on the Bible, you just touch the testes of Norma. When I tell you that the two testaments of the Bible represent the the testes of the first Pharaoh that swore in with his balls and his lineage. When you swear in, you got your nuts on the line. You swearing in with your literal sex organ. And even in the mob still today, I believe they still chop it off under certain circumstances. So this ain't nothing new. They chop that off to end your royal succession, all right? And they kill your children that is living and stop anybody ruling from behind you, okay? So we're talking succession, we're talking genetics and lineage. Now, in the court, the Bible represent, when you put your hand on that Bible and give your oath, the Bible, think about it, what I'm telling you here. When Norma gave his oath, it wasn't no Bible. Look in the bottom left corner. When he gave his oath and swore in the first Pharaoh, it wasn't no Bible yet. So he didn't swear in on no Bible. When he swore in, that was when the order was established. What order? The New World Order that was built on top of our beautiful old world. So when he established this New World Order, he took the first oath and represent the first family. So that became a new point of singularity of human origins. You get me? Prior to him, when people say, where did it all start from? We talked about our mothers in the Garden of Eden in the North Pole. Out the Norma, when we try to trace back human origins, they take us to Egypt. That ain't where we originated from. That's where our slavery originated from. So stay with me. Now check this out. When you put your hand on the Bible, it's like you touching Brother Sanchez's testes. I bullshit you not. You got two testaments. And you look at the testes, it's two oval shaped organs making it, testicles. I'm not getting the terminology right here. I'm not the best with biology, but all of these words deal with the testament, the testicles, the testes. You swore in with your balls. All right, so enough of that. I think we get the point. Now, wasn't no Bible when Norma swore in, because he's the foundation of the New World Order. He laid the foundation. The house has been built on top of that foundation today. So when we go to court, there is a Bible. There's a long line of succession in that Bible of when you open up the Bible, Jacob begat such and such and such begat such and such. And this one gave birth to that one. So the Bible is a book of succession. Men who are succeeding. And the reason they're able to succeed for so many years is by making us fail for so many years. How do they do it? Because you fail to know who you are. You fail to ask questions, so they keep succeeding. Their succession continues. It's literally that simple. Knowledge is power. They got the knowledge, so they keeping the secret. But it ain't no secret when you start seeking the damn knowledge. So, when you touch the Bible, you're touching Norma's testes. That Bible is a book of genetics, starting from Atum, which is Norma or Adam, all the way up to Jesus ending the book in Revelation. So when you touch that book, you're basically swearing on the royal families, because the Bible is just tracking their royal succession through mythological names. And while it's doing that, it's writing all of us out of history, creating a peasantry system and even a chosen group of people. Y'all need to grasp this now. Now check how deep this is, right? You're swearing in on the blood of the royal families, the bloodline, not no blood of Jesus. Jesus represents Norma. So when you see him shedding the blood on the cross And they telling you the only way you can be saved is by being covered in the blood. They telling you the only way you're going to experience heaven is being part of the royal family bloodline, which is extended to the fraternities and the Masons and all of them sellouts too. They would be the lowest members of the royal families. That would be another way of marrying your way into it or selling your soul into it some kind of way. So they do control the frats and all of these people at the bottom who make up your industries as well. All right, and we're going to be getting into how that breaks down on a pyramid as we move into Herstory, Hisstory later on, like in parts 5 and 6 and all of that. But we got to crawl before we walk, people. We got to crawl before we walk. So let me get 30 seconds and I'm going to keep going because I don't want to waste no time at all. Hey, so listen, y'all, and let me before I start back, I like to in between the shows check my chat room and make sure that my I like to make sure my audio is good. To everybody in the chat room, I'm looking at the chat room right now. Let me get some flat powers in the chat room if my audio sounds good, if my voice is good. It hate to be 3 hours into a show and they said, man, the whole time you sounded like a chipmunk, you know. Let me stop now and get a mic check. Okay, so my people say I'm good. Flat power to y'all, man. I love y'all. And I'm going to keep on going with this right away because I don't want to waste y'all time. So we understand how important the blood is. Okay? We understand how important the blood is, people. Right? Your mother shed her blood for you to be here. Now, this is what the Christians tell you about Christ. They say he shed his blood so that you can have life and you don't have to face death with the devil. They just hijack what the role of the mother and the women in Mother Nature represent. But when you accept him, you really accepting the devil. Now, let me go on here and get this over with. So, let's talk about now, since we got all of this out the way, yeah, Arm and Hammer. We know that the name Arm and Hammer is another way of saying Hammon. Hammon. Zeus Hammon. Many Kemetic folks won't even know who that is. Zeus Ammon or Zeus Hammon. This is the god Zeus Ammon. And this is the same god that you're looking at on the bottom left corner. If you look at this pharaoh called Narmer or Menes, he has many different identities and names. And I'm just going to show you a couple of them throughout this video stream. So there's him swam in on the bottom left. Keep these double arches in mind. And we're going to talk about the 10 Commandments later. But now I want to talk about Arm and Hammer just a little bit. Keep the double arches in mind. Those double arches became these two horns. Remember the Hathor water horns at first. All right. So his name is Zeus Hammon. He became Jesus. All right. Now the word Ammon, Ammon, is really Hammon. You know the H can be there or not. It's interplaceable. Now black people say they come from Ham. And they're really referring to this god Zeus Hammon because he's also a form of this black pharaoh who they call Narmer. But he wasn't just a black pharaoh. He was a white pharaoh, a Chinese pharaoh. He had many identities. When the New World Order was created, it was just what we say about the New World Order. When you hear people talk about the New World Order, what they say? They say it's going to be one world religion. Everybody going to worship the same God. And there's going to be one police and all of that. The trick is they got you waiting on it, but we've been in it for 7,000 years now, and it's ending right now. This God that everybody worshiping, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, all of this the same God, man. He's over 300 different deities being worshipped today under different names. Even the God Pan is another form of them. It's so many, and we're going to go over them all today. Basically, the first pharaoh became the god of the New World Order. So it's Santa Claus. Any male patriarchal deity is a representation of Norma, basically. So there's more than one version of this deity, because this was we talk about the New World Order, not the New Africa Order or the New China Order. We're talking about the first guy to be worshipped by the whole world. No matter what your race was, you knew who this guy was. When he came to your land, you showed respect. Don't that sound familiar? Don't that sound like the Pope? The Pope can go to anywhere and get respect. This was the first Pope, y'all, and Dalai Lama. It was a Dalai Lama too. So there was many names based upon people around the world speak many languages. So not everybody say, here come the Pope. Some people got a different name for the Pope, and names translate different. So this deity has so many interpretations that it's ridiculous. And I'm going to try to give you a lot of them today. But it's the first pharaoh. All right, Adam was one, Jesus was one. We went over a lot of them. All of these male gods got a beard. Abraham, if you look at the Sphinx got a beard. All of these, like when they show you these griffins with the pharaoh head and the lion body, it always got this beard. You know why? Back when the pharaoh rose to power, they wore fake beards as a sign of royalty. You might want to write that down in your notebook. They wore fake beards as a sign of royalty. Here's the fake beard right here. Anybody who know about fake beards will tell you that fake beards ain't nothing new. They originate from Kemet. This is not a real beard, people. You're seeing the pharaoh with a fake beard on. So a lot of Kemetic scholars, I don't know if they know this, but you could go and teach it to them now. When you look at the pharaoh sculptors, that was not their real hair. They shaved their face. The pharaoh shaved all of their hair. They had smooth hair like a woman, and they wore makeup. So if you was looking at a pharaoh, you would see the face just like this, smooth. No beards, no sideburns, no mustaches, just a long fake beard. This is how the pharaoh looked. Even when you look at this tomb, you see they have no facial hair, just a long beard. This is why Santa Claus have a long beard, Abraham have a long beard, Jesus got a long beard. All of these patriarchal gods got these long beards because that was a sign of royalty. The fake beard. It was a fake beard. And it was strapped on to his headdress. So there's a lot we got to learn about Kemet that the black so-called conscious community ain't going to teach you. So he wore a headdress, and he strapped, it was a chin strap that strapped his beard onto it. And again, the beard was a sign of seniority and wisdom and royalty. But the pharaoh kept a clean shaven face, and the pharaoh wore more makeup than his woman. So when you saw the pharaoh, it would be like, remember the singer Prince? How everybody fall out when they see Prince? You know how it's dudes like Prince who got this star appeal? They getting this stuff from the pharaoh. They getting it from the pharaoh. Everybody learned how this star power from the pharaoh because he was the first rising star. So celebrities are stars who are worshipped for what? Their appearance. What they got. Physical shit. Just like the pharaoh. And it was all about beauty. And the pharaoh looked it like a woman. You know. But back in this time, like I said, homosexuality was normal. It wasn't like during this time people was talking like us, like, ooh, he gay, y'all, and the word homophobe. It was very normal. You can have a wife and also be homosexual, and you don't have to be in the closet. Like even the women looked at it as no, it was so prevalent during this time. So you hear stories about Sodom and Gomorrah. We talking about Greece and Egypt. And if I go into all of the art, we're gonna talk about. Stay tuned too, by the way, because part of Herstory to Hisstory, I'm gonna be giving the history of homosexuality. And that's going to be a deep one, and that's going to be child restricted because we're going to be looking at a lot of graphic items, ancient stuff during those. But just to stay on track, remember your fake beard, okay? Remember your fake beard. If you look at the Sphinx is Norma with the fake beard, okay? Keep that in mind. That's a dead giveaway. Fake beard and a doggone face like a newborn baby. What real man you know got a face that smooth? I'm sorry, but this Pharaoh was a pretty boy. He was a pretty boy, man. You know, he didn't even grow a real beard. He just put a fake one on. And these pharaohs had clean shaven faces, and they wore hella makeup. Like I said, more makeup than the women. And when you look at the movies, they still show you that today. The pharaohs look feminine as hell. But now to get back to this pharaoh here, he was mythified and turned into all these patriarchal gods that rule the world today. And if you look at his double arches or his crown, this was another god right here that personified that god. His name is Zeus Ammon, became Zeus, Jesus, Serapis, etc. And you see the double arches on his head right there. They're replacing the uterus of the woman with a male. So this god is a result of putting a male face in the middle of that uterus, which is would be today a transgender. Okay, so this is spiritual transgenderhood or transsexualism. It had to happen spiritual first before they can work it up to today, where now you got men walking around looking just like women. They had to ease these thoughts into the spirituality and psyche of humanity over thousands of years, and today is still not acceptable by the majority because it's unnatural. And they've been fighting this natural urge in us to stick to what's natural for thousands of years. Unnatural versus natural. And the first unnatural thing of significance that started changing us in spirituality to accept that which was unnatural was when the male started personifying the female sexual organ. So when you look at the uterus in the middle of this collage at the bottom, you can see it's got two horns on each side. And in the middle of those two horns was the face of the goddess, because this uterus is on the goddess. My woman got a uterus. I don't. So this organ should be personified by a woman. And this is why you had deities like Ma'at, who looked just like the uterus, but instead of the two arms, two horns, you got two scales. Now, when have you ever seen a male Ma'at in Kemet? You never saw a male Ma'at, because the males destroyed Ma'at. They destroyed the balance and the uterus. They put their face on Ma'at and want to take the place of their mother. So that's what we're dealing with today, guys. Anti-feminine guys who hate the woman. Man, we don't love them hoes. The world can do better without these filthy scumbags. If you look at the Bible, that's how it feel about your women. It curses you. It said you was some ignorant, disobedient, untrustworthy scums of crap. God told you not to bite off the tree. Not only did you disobey God, but you gave some to your man and got everything messed up today. According to the Bible, you've done something terribly wrong. And you're the dumbest creature. The animals is smarter than you women, according to the Bible. So, you see how the man says, since you so dumb, I'm going to replace your role in mythology. And I'm going to now personify the womb and the uterus. And that's when they built the goddamn vagina on Adam, so he can give birth to the woman and child. And they built the vagina on Adam's womb cage So he can take the place now of the woman, and now the males can start giving birth. So now today, when you go to church, they say the only way you can be born again is through a man, through Jesus. People, this is ancient spiritual transsexualism before we even get to this shithole we in today. So when you look at this uterus in the bottom middle portion of the collage, in the middle was a female who represent this organ. Now they turned it into a male with horns on his head. And that's how you get this God right here. They put a male face in between the female uterus. And this God was a result of that. Okay? So for the first time, you got men personifying themselves as vaginas. And because of that, when they changed the succession, they had to create a womb on Adam, which is a tomb. Y'all don't hear me though. Y'all see why don't nobody like to play with me? They don't like to play with Brother Sanchez because the truth gonna set us free, but they don't really want to be free. They just want to ball out. They want to do award shows and shit like that. Nobody want to get down to the nitty gritty, give you the truth, the knowledge that's just gonna set you free. They want to bullshit you, give you chicken talk. You think you're getting knowledge, you just getting camaraderie. Now, back on track here since I made my point. Let's talk arm and hammer. The word hammer, remember, when you take the H off it, is Ammer or Ammon. Hammon, Zeus Ammon. This god was named Ammon or Hammon, and that became the word hammer or, Hammon, hammer, ham, which is Norma. Now, who else do we know have a hammer? The judge in the courtroom, he have a hammer, okay? And he bang that hammer for order. What order? The New World Order. The judge is here to enforce the law of the New World Order. And he bang the hammer of Zeus to keep that order in this patriarchal world. Take a minute and think about what I just said because it's so important. We're dealing with symbolism, history, herstory, spirituality, etymology, numerology, bibliology, theology, you name it. This is syncretism. Now let's continue and get some more. So you see that when Narma swore in to rule with force, because patriarchal rulers rule with force, unlike women rulers. When women ruled the world, they didn't rule with force. They ruled with balance. It wasn't order out of chaos. It was order out of balance. That's the only way you can get true order. Balance. This is a fake order you're under today. And we ain't even got deep yet, y'all. So stay with me. So when you raise your hand, that's the New World Order. That's one hand symbolizing unbalance. The goddess had two hands. You're swearing in, you're saying that, for example, when you deal with sign language, if I walk up to you with my hand raised, like how Norma looking in the bottom left, you'll get on defense. You'll be like, what, you about to hit me or something? What, you about to slap me? But if I walk up to you with both of my arms raised, you'll be like, okay, he trying to hug me. So it's a big difference. You got to look at body language. The goddess raised both arms, symbolizing peace, balance, equality. The gods raised one arm to symbolize secrecy, oath taking, and I'm going to rule you out of force. If you don't do what I say, I'll take this one hand and backhand your ass, or I'll take it and shoot you. That's male rule, one hand raised. So I'm trying to give y'all some divine knowledge here today. So when you look at the arm and hammer logo, you see that arm, that one arm with the hammer in it saying, hey, you better stay your ass in line. I'll hit you. I'll hit you now. That ain't how the goddesses rule. The first gods that start to appear in mythology had ultimatums that they made with the people. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to burn you up. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to curse you. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to punish you. That's male rulership. The opposite of that would be matriarchal female rulership and goddesses. They don't deal with all of that. If you don't do what I say, I'm going to burn you up. They simply say, listen, if you do what I say, I'm going to reward you. So there's a difference there. Males say, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to kill you. And females say, if you do what I say, I'm going to reward you. Two different forms of rulership. In a matriarchal world, if you do what's right, then right come to you. In a patriarchal world, if you don't do what's wrong, ain't no good gonna come to you. You damn near got to be an evil person just to pay your bills today. Some people stuck in jobs right now they don't want to be in because they got to do something that's against their spirit in this hell backwards ass world today. Think about it. If somebody work at McDonald's, they got to sell people food that they know poisoning the people to pay their bills today. So today you got to do bad in order to eat because it's a backwards world today. It's order out of chaos. In order for you to get up, somebody got to go down. That ain't the true way of nature. That's the way of the males. And if you don't play the game, then something bad going to happen to you. That's male rulers that rose with the Bible. These were the first biblical rulers. This is why they synonymous with the first Pharaoh. So if you don't do what I say, I'm going to burn you. But in the matriarchal world, if you do what I say, I'll reward you. Two different ways to go. Now, let's move on. Let's move on. Because I don't want to be too far all over the place here. So we know about this arm and hammer. Why he carrying that hammer? Cool. Let's keep it going. Let's talk about the 10 Commandments. But before we do that, let me just check something out here. Let me make sure I'm good. Make sure I'm good real quick, y'all, because I got my notes all over the place. Scratching that off because we went over it. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so now let's crank it up a notch and dig in a little deeper. All right. And let me make sure that I'm where I need to be in my presentation. Thank y'all for being patient with me. I'm gonna get it together. Okay, so now this is where I want to be. Now, we already talked about the symbolism of Adam, Atum, and we talked about this collage and swearing in and Normer and the oaths and how the NWO began. But now what we didn't talk about was the top right corner, those 10 Commandments. Let's talk about that because that's the law that comes along with the Old Testament. Now listen, what are these testaments in the Bible separated by? The law, right? The Old Testament has a set of laws. The New Testament starts with a new law. Why are we dealing with law and religion? Because the religious people were the government during this time, okay? It haven't changed today. Today they tell you that the judge and all of them ain't religious, but they still got the Bible in court. So they fooling you. The Pope still rule the world. The Catholic Church and the royal family still rule under Adam, under the world religious deception. So catch up with me in the first books of the series. If you want to get more on that, I'm going to move forward here and talk about the role of the 10 Commandments and why these two testaments is separated by laws. The same way different styles of government is separated by laws. Democrats pass laws that Republicans wouldn't pass. Keeping in mind that all of these laws still gonna get the same agenda accomplished that they want to accomplish, but different forms of rulership, different structures, different ideologies, and they argue about it all the time. Now they all agree on the same hellhole New World Order system, but how it should be ran and all of that, they often argue about it. So yeah, it's infighting go on too. But when we talk about the Ten Commandments, this began the first law that was made by man. Remember, I told you before this, it was only women who made the law. That men weren't supposed to make no law. Men was always the enforcers of the law. But with the book of Genesis came these commandments too that was given in the early part of this Old Testament in this old kingdom of Norma. So the number 10 is symbolic because we're dealing with the binary code right off the bat. Now, I'm not going to start teaching about the number 10 and Zen and the binary code and all of that because I do that all the time. I just want to talk about the 10 Commandments. And I just want to point out that the fact the number 10 is very important. 10 is symbolic. Those who follow me understand why. You need to catch up if you don't. So 10 Commandments, let's talk about them. The law was now given by the man. This is what you got to think about. Before the 10 Commandments, you don't think people knew the stuff that the 10 Commandments say? You don't think people didn't know not to kill, not to steal, not to sleep with each other's loved ones? You don't think people knew that before the 10 Commandments? You got to be a fool if you think it was because of the 10 Commandments that people learned not to kill and all of that. So if people already knew this stuff, what was the purpose of these commandments? What are we looking at here? It's not that people didn't know the stuff, so God had to create some commandments to remind them. It's the fact that people knew these things because of the matrilineal system that we lived in and the golden rule, which said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Everybody knew that. You don't even got to make no amount of commandments. That's the only rule you need in any society. That one rule. And that is worth 1,000,000 rules. Because if everybody do that, you don't need no other rules. That's the one rule that cancel out them all. And that's what we was in the matrilineal system. But after that rule, like I said, when they cancel out the goddesses and the men started ruling, they had to make new rules. So they had to make a new set of rules, which wasn't rules, they was commandments. So the Bible give you commandments. They're not rules. They're basically a law. It's a law. Like the police give you a commandment, freeze. Don't run the stop sign. Don't steal. And if you do, you can be punished by law. So again, the church was the law during this time. So keep that in mind, people. We confuse this all the time. All right. Now, these commandments were given by the first Pharaoh. There were no need for these commandments because the law of nature was written in our hearts. Listen to your consciousness, man. You know you can feel it when you're doing wrong. Golden rule, the golden rule. Now we left the golden rule and we stopped listening to our hearts because now we started listening to the Pharaoh. Think about it, people. When a commandment is given, either you're going to listen to it or you ain't going to listen to it. It's that simple. So when the commandments was given and the law was made and a new world order was established by the first Pharaoh, either you listened to the law or you didn't, and it was punishable just like it is today if you do something wrong. All right? It's that simple. Now, the deep part about it is, why did they get rid of the golden rule and start creating a list of laws and numbered laws? Because prior to this, it was just one rule. Just do unto others as you had them do unto you. You don't need no more rules if you just do that one. So why did they do these 10 commandments? Well, let's look at the 10 commandments. This is why I brought them up. This start the new world order law, the fake law. This is the law that disconnects us with nature and makes us be slaves under the new world order. And this law is all world religions. This ain't just limited to the Bible. I'm using the Bible because I was a Christian. I don't know them other books like that. So this is why I'm syncing it with the Bible, but you can sync it to your religion too, because your God is Norma too. Everybody God is the first Pharaoh. Okay, now let's move on. Why was these commandments created, and why does these commandments? And now listen, what I'm about to read to you is the commandments of the old kingdom, which all of your courtrooms is still based upon. And I'm gonna break this down to you as we go into this, right? So why did they create this law system? Why did they do it? Why did they take us away from the golden rule and build these commandments on top? See, that's the thing. Nature didn't command you to do nothing. It's built in you to do what's right, because if you don't do what's right, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's called balance. When you do something wrong to somebody, you don't feel good about that. That's the voice inside of us called balance. That's our consciousness. That's our heart, which is in the center of our body, our moral compass. This is the Garden of Eden, and the center of the earth is in the center of us. And we create heaven by living out of the heart, not the intellect. All of your intellect should be centered in the heart. So the heart is a mind of its own, because ultimately the last action you take is not with the brain, it's with the heart. You can think your way into a tough situation where you got a gun up to your brother's head because you intellectually convince yourself that you got to get money in this matrix. But at gunpoint, your heart is telling you that's bullshit. You don't need that money that bad. Don't kill that brother. You don't feel right. But you'll ignore your heart because you outthink yourself in the mind. So the heart is really the Eden, the Garden of Eden in us, that really keep our scales balanced and keep us living by that golden rule, which is do unto others as you have them do unto you. If everybody listened to their heart, then you wouldn't shoot me because you wouldn't want to be shot. That's why your heart feel that way when you're doing something wrong. And people who real tough criminals have to harden their heart over time. That's why they say you got to harden your heart, because naturally your heart is soft. So for you to become just a murderer, you have to alter yourself, your body chemistry, and become an unnatural predatory creature, spiritually, physically, and mentally. This would be the definition of a true devil, by definition. So to stay on subject with these commandments, nature didn't give us commandments. Nature gave us a moral compass and a consciousness. It don't command you to do nothing. All it does is when you're doing something that would bring imbalance to others or yourself, it lets you know. Because for you to make an imbalanced action, you have to be off balance. So when you going and just say somebody about to go rape a woman, they driven by they lust, but they heart know is wrong. So for them to do something that's imbalanced, they have to be imbalanced. It's that simple. A person that's balanced, what I mean balance and imbalance, meaning doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. When you look at Ma'at with them scales even, that's her saying do unto others as you have them do unto you. When you say do unto others as you have them do unto you, that's a way of saying a macabre. Do unto others would be one triangle pointed upward, as you would have them do unto you is one pointed downward. This is as above, so below, yin and yang. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. With this cosmic law, we create heaven on earth, or what the Bible called the Garden of Eden, because the heart chakra is green. The heart chakra is green. This is the garden within that will allow us to grow and blossom into these beings of love and light that would be necessary to do to create heaven on earth. So heaven ain't a place we can go to out there in space or take a boat to it. We can only create it, each and every human, from within. And it's a mind state. It's a spiritual state that has to come from within, from your heart. You have to be a good person within. And if you weren't, wherever you go, you'll just take your filthy ways there. So if there was this beautiful heaven and space somewhere, which we know it ain't, and you can just get there without changing who you are, like some of these religions teach you by just asking for forgiveness and, this crazy stuff. They don't teach the law of karma. So when you know what goes around comes around, it molds you into this passionate creature to the point you don't even want to harm an animal, insect, none of that. But that's another story. That's the law of nature, which is not a commandment, but it's just simply built into you. You are the law of nature, like your heart. So when we talk about these laws that come after that law to build this new world order, we're talking about commandments. Commandments. A commandment is different than what I just explained, what nature gave us. A commandment is what I just told you, some mean ass, unfair, unbalanced, favoritism, patriarchal ass God telling you what to do. And if you don't do it, I'm going to get mad and punish you like a little bitty ass child. That's what commandments are. You get them in the military. Nature don't rule over you that way. So let's talk about these commandments and why these commandments were built on top of nature's natural law. It's all in the first commandment. It's all in the people after I read this first commandment, I don't got to read no more. The first commandment, I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have any strange gods before me. Why was that written there? Because when they was writing this law again, they was turning the female uterus and making it be personified by a man. For the first time, they was personifying the female organ with a man. So after they done that and forced people to worship this new God, this transsexual God, this male God that's giving birth out of a womb, after they forced people to worship this horrible, hideous spectacle of a God, some male deity giving birth, after they forced that on the people, they then unified and created a new set of laws on top of the natural laws. And the first law give them away. I'm the Lord thy God, and don't you have no strange gods before me. What was these strange gods, people? The mother goddess, the goddesses, the uterus, the female womb. See, the diva, which is the woman, now became the devil when she was cursed. And we no longer worship the womb. Everybody in the world right now worshiping the male phallus of the first pope. That's why they got an obelisk in Washington, D.C. that they call the Washington Monument. And they got one in Egypt. Those are phalluses, people. So the first commandment was given by this Pharaoh in the bottom left. When he rose to power and secured the first kingdoms in the Old Testament or the old kingdoms, that was the first law that they wrote when they established his dynasty. Y'all can't worship nobody but the Pharaoh. If you've been following my series after 3100 BC, you know that the Pharaoh was worshipped as God in the flesh. Prior to him, we only worship the womb, which is the world ship. The womb is the crossroads. It's the cosmic portal. It's called the world ship. So the word worship comes from the uterus, which is the world ship. It's the ship of the world. Everything recycles itself through the womb. All things, y'all. It's the world ship. Became the word worship. All right, so there was a word that come from that crossroads to that uterus. Do unto others as you has them do unto you. And that was all replaced with a new word. The commandments, and the new word, the gospel, which is bull crap, creating a new world order. So that first commandment forced the people to worship the Pharaoh, which was the first god. Why do you think this is written in a first person, y'all? I mean, have you ever just thought about that a minute? Read this. It say, I am the Lord thy God. This mean God would have been talking. This mean if there was some God floating around in heaven, he must have had a bullhorn yelling this shit down to the people. Who knew to write this? If it's written in first person like God spoke it, it's because God was the president, people. God is just another word for Pharaoh, president, pope, male ruler. And the church was the government during this time. So when you hear this, this is like if a president was elected today, they would have a speech that they give the people when they swear into office. This was like the first presidential speech and it was also a list of commandments because the first president had to lay the law down. After the first president laid the law down, the law has been laid. Every president after that can just build their dynasties on that law. Again, when we go to court, we put our hand on the Bible, but when Norma did it at first, when he first created this order, he didn't have a Bible. He was the Bible. So the Bible is nothing but his lineage in book form. It's his DNA in flesh. That's why they said the Bible is like this. They talk about the Bible like it's a human. The Bible speaks to people. The Bible gives commandments. The Bible gives birth. This Bible is a man that was turned into a book with his royal succession. This man split the timeline, AD and BC, and it splits the Bible, New Testament, Old Testament. This is the way we govern time, and all of that is a result of the first Pharaoh. So the clock is wrong. It ain't 2018. The earth is older than that. It's been 2018 years since the unification, since they made this treaty. Excuse me, I'm wrong about that. It's been 2018 years since the time split. My bad. They made the treaty in 3100 BC and they was counting time down. So when they went from 3100 to 30 to 29, 28, and etc., they reached year one. And that was 2018 years ago. And they started counting up again. So our generation count time up, but their generation was counting it down because they changed the calendars. Remember, we was going from cycles of time to linear time. So when they changed the succession, they had to change the calendars too. Now, the first law is creating the first system of people worshiping the Pope or the first male rulers. All right, don't worship no gods before him. And it say, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. This is important because the name that they gave the Lord thy God would carry on his succession, just like your name. So we dealing with law right now. We dealing with law. This is, you know, you got to learn how to decode the Bible and understand that the church was the government, y'all. Okay, you got to understand that, Christians. All right, so you're not dealing with a literal guy ruling from heaven. You're dealing with somebody sitting in the building ruling from the people being ignorant. That is their heaven. Most of the world being ignorant creates their bliss. The moment we get knowledge and raise up, they're going to be shitting bricks. So they are ruling from heaven, because long as we all dumb down, it's a heaven for them. They can walk right past a dang old giant that can really crush them, but the giant think it's a rat. So you don't know how powerful you are. So it goes on to say, remember to keep the Sabbath day, which they turned to Sunday, under thy father and mother. Then it start giving you the normal stuff that we all know we need to do, not don't kill, don't commit adultery. But the reason I point out these 10 commandments, because it's not really those last ones. We all know that. I mean, you know not to commit adultery. You know not to kill. They threw that in there because they had to give you the natural law. But when I talk about them building their law on top of the natural law, it's just what you're looking at. The first commandments is the law of Norma. And he built these laws on top of the natural laws that's written in your heart. So when you read the commandments, it's all about the order that they're giving to you in. Remember that the word order is dealing with the New World Order. It's dealing with rulership, the way things are arranged. Rulers measure shit. People, you got to be a deep thinker. Stay with me. We tied it all together in a syncretic way. So the order of these commandments is very, very important. The order of them. Because he had to put his law in front of the natural laws. And I'm going to tell you why. By them telling you don't put no Lord before Norma or the Lord thy God. And by them telling you respect his name, like we say today, we say put some respect on my name, baby. Put some respect on my name. That's what they telling you right here. So by they telling you all that and to keep his Sabbath day, which they changed to be Sunday after the Pharaoh, because it's really supposed to, it was different than that. But that's a different subject. And then after that, they give you the normal stuff that we all know, which is the laws of nature. But they give you them last. So the first thing come of importance. If God was talking to you, the first thing he tell you, you would deem important. You would deem it that the order that God is talking to you is from least to greatest. You know, so if somebody broke in your house and killed your children, I wouldn't show up and say, man, somebody broke in your house. It wouldn't even be about the burglary no more. Priority first. Hey, man, your children is gone. So the order matters. The importance of the order, that's important. So we know that these first 3 commandments are very important. And basically these first 3 mean respect this God of this Bible, man. You better respect me. You better not make no gods before me, and you better respect my name. That's what God wants you to do before you say stop killing, don't commit adultery, don't, cheat on each other, respect it. Before you get to all that good stuff, what God telling you first is respect me first, then respect each other. In other words, I know y'all gonna kill and all that, but I'll tell you about them commandments later. The first commandment you need to realize is just don't piss me off. Basically, this is how this God or this Bible is thinking. Okay, so I said that to say that you wonder how a person can have a book that tell them thou shalt not kill, but the Christians done more killing than anybody else with a book that tell them that. It's because of the commandments before that. See, it don't matter about this book saying thou shalt not kill, don't commit adultery, if before all of that good stuff, the ones of importance is to respect the God, the law of the land. So if you got more respect for the God in this book that's giving you the commandments than the law that's written in your heart, because they wrote their law on top of that, like I just showed you. This is why they clear to give it to you in order, people. The 10 commandments in order. And if a Christian is to read the 10 commandments and they're not read them in order, a real pastor will correct that Christian and tell them, hold up, you got to do that over in the right order. So the order is very important, people. Okay? It's very important. And why the order is important? Because the law of nature, which is thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, basically do unto others as you will have you do unto yourself. That really can be overridden by the laws that come before it, which is respect this God of this Bible. What do you mean, Brother Sanchez? Well, the God of this Bible say thou shalt not kill, but the God of this Bible got an army that's killing. So these rules can be twisted because the rules that come before them give a gray area. For example, if I say, hey man, I'm your God, and you better listen to everything I say without questioning me. But I tell you in the next sentence, thou shalt not kill. But then I tell you on another day, hey man, these people, they weren't listening to me, so they got to be punished and killed. Now, killing is okay because the first law make it okay, which is respect God. So when they able to replace the great mother with these gods, they can make killing okay. Because even though these gods tell you not to kill, they also tell you don't be disobedient and to listen to what you told. So when I was Christian, I was convinced that, it was some killing that needed to be done in the name of Jesus. Like a fool, I was convinced that. Because even though the book told me thou should not kill, it also told me that the Lord thy God was my God and I don't put no other gods before him and that I'm going to respect his name. So when I heard that it was some people out there putting other gods before my God, in my mind, some kind of way, they was worthy of death. Because my commandment is don't have no strange gods before me. It say thou shalt not kill. But the commandment before that says that it's okay to kill because if you break that first commandment, it's punishable by death. Don't you know that? So it's a gray area, sort of like they saying we go on a war so we can make peace, but they really perpetuating chaos so they can have order out of chaos. So now that we got this 10 Commandments deciphered, and we got that out of the way. It's a couple more things I want to go over. All right, we know the shape of them, the double arches. We know the shape of them. We see all of that on the collage. That was Herstory. This is McDonald's. We don't really have to go too deep into it because we already went over the collage and the double arches. Now, there was a story in the Bible about a golden calf that those early Christians was worshiping. And that golden calf is equivalent to the pre-Christian, to the pre-dynastic serpent goddess. I go over this in a lot of videos. You had your serpent goddess and you had your cow goddesses all representing this matrilineal system. So when the goddesses were desecrated and the male gods assumed the throne with this first pharaoh, worship of the goddess became punishable. Worshiping of the goddess became punishable by death. And if you was worshiping the goddess when they created this new world order, you were burnt to death and you were called a witch. Okay? So you notice that the commandments was created because of the people's disobedience, but in particular, not because they was killing, stealing, and lying. That's normal. But what was the climax, what caused this Christian God to make those 10 Commandments was the last straw that pissed them off was them worshiping this golden calf. So he let them go for so long, killing each other, stealing, doing each other wrong, and didn't do nothing about it. But when they started worshiping this other God, this calf, that's when he said, okay, I got to make these commandments now. And it go back to what I was telling you. This God care more about you respecting him than us respecting each other. And that's a male attitude. A man will tell you all day, I don't care what you say to that dude, just don't come in my face and talk it. But in a woman's world, and not to just put women on a pedestal, they are the creatures that would talk shit over before they just go launching missiles and getting grenades and shit, Like a lot of the daddies in the hood used to make us fight to see who tougher. And the mamas would say, stop that. And they'll make us color and shit to see who can color the best. So we're dealing with two forms of rule and different things that you can focus on. Brute force and being predator prey, or who can be one with nature and be what you're supposed to be, basically, the most. But now let's get back to this Bible. It's a golden calf because it represents the golden age, the Garden of Eden age that these Christians were leaving. They were leaving this golden age, and you can see what's on their heads became the same hat that Moors and the shamans and the pharaohs and Santa Claus wear. Okay, these guys wear robes. When you go in a courtroom, the judge wear a robe, just like the pastor wear a robe, and they both want something from you. Now, we're going to talk about the courtroom and how religious laws still apply today. But first, I want to talk about this golden calf since I put it up. This golden calf represents Hathor, that horn goddess that I told you about. Remember, she was replaced with Jesus. Another form of her was the serpent goddess, and she was turned into a serpent wrapped around a tree who was evil, and she was cursed. So they cursed all of these goddesses. And anybody that was still trying to perpetuate, and worship these goddesses, they was called a satanic person, because at this time they had turned these divas into devils. These goddesses carried tridents, which is another form of a balancing scales. And that trident was given to this devil. They was turned into the devil. So now today, when you try to tell the people the truth about the womb and the greatness of the women, all of the symbolism that you need to talk about to do that, they curse the symbolism. So people call Brother Sanchez a witch. They call me a Satanist, when really I'm a naturalist. I'm just showing you how we all come from our mother's womb, and we should pay homage to that sacrificial 9 months and that excruciating pain, and look at what nature is trying to tell us, and get out of this transsexualized modern way of thinking that's unnatural. But the things that I talk about when I start giving credit to the serpent and having respect for the trident, people say, man, this dude is a devil worshiper, because the symbols that I need to explain the truth, they curse those symbols, y'all. These are chess players. These are smart men. The symbols that you need that would free the world and give them the truth, today they got them written in mythology as devil symbols. But they all symbols of the goddess, the uterus. So these horns is on the devil. They call him a great bull. If you look at a picture of the devil, he got hoven foot. He got foot like a cow. In all of these movies and pictures that they draw the devil, you see he got his feet like a cow. He got cow feet, because the devil is the great mother. This is nothing to be scared of. This is nothing evil. This was cursed. So the Christians who were worshiping the golden calf, they was punished. And God had to come and make a law, because when they was establishing this new world order, it wasn't easy. Even though the first Pharaoh had swore in and made a law saying everybody got to worship me and my family, people were still worshiping these pre-dynastic goddesses. So they had to go around killing off all of these little cults that was hiding off in the jungle, still trying to create little hidden garden societies. These places were getting discovered, and the people come and raid it and turn these people into slaves and city dwellers like we are today. So people were still worshiping these ancient matriarchal beautiful goddesses, and they was getting killed for it. And they killed off a lot of those people, and the mythology of that is in this golden calf story, when they cursed the worship of these beautiful goddesses. It now became wrong to worship the golden calf, when really that's what we were supposed to be worshiping. The golden calf is a form of the uterus in the golden age. All right. They cursed the snake. They cursed the serpent, when the serpent is one of the most divine, holiest creatures on the earth, representing the sine wave and so much more. So all of these beautiful deities that created a Eden on earth, or a heaven on earth, was cursed so that they can maintain a hell on earth. All right. Keep this stuff in mind. It's very important. So now that we talked about this golden calf, it was something I was going to bring up. Give me a second. Hold on, people. So what I was going to bring up is religious law and how it applies today. And really, basically, my point with bringing this up is that The only law of the land and the only law that has always been on the land was religious law. What we're calling law is the law of the church. It's the law of the Pope. The Pope ain't separate from your police departments. They're enforcing the power of the royal families. Their badges shaped like the royal crest of the dynasties. And I'm going to be going into that in the future. Okay? I'm going to be ripping this stuff apart. Okay, so the law that's being enforced in courtrooms is the law of those 10 commandments, those first 3 parts, which is put some respect on my name. So you could be a non-religious person, but by going through a court proceeding, you just fell victim of biblical law. So religion is deeper than just you believing or not. You believe in the Constitution. You believe in biblical law. You believe in patriarchal structure. So what I mean by that is this. It's the structure, the system, the proceedings by which court go through, which didn't exist in pre-dynastic world. In pre-dynastic world, there was no courtroom. There was a village. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. If you wrong somebody, the village would do that to you and wrong you back. You would get a dose of your medicine. And when you feel how it felt to do that to that person and you see what you put them through, you'll change. Trust me, you'll change, buddy. I watch forensics a lot. Let me get off subject 1 minute. See, I watch a lot of forensics, and what I find out is the people that do these hideous murders can't have it been done to them. They go to acting like bitches when they get in jail, but they do this hideous stuff to people when they was on the streets. So yeah, law of karma applied in pre-dynastic time. What you did to somebody, buddy, we was finna do to you. You know, some things we just put you to death. But the point is, you didn't have to go to these extremes of enforcing the law like that, because when you had a rule called do unto others as you had them do unto you, and the type of social structures that they had in pre-dynastic time, when too many people, you didn't get no murderers, no fucking Jeffrey Dahmers, and this is new, man. So civilization didn't begin with the first pharaoh, it ended. And now you got a bunch of uncivilized people calling themselves civilization. If the people in pre-dynastic day came to our world today, they wouldn't call this civilization. They would call this chaos. They were more civilized, governing with the plants and treating each other right, you know, and all of that. So let's get back on subject here. And we're going to talk about religious law and how it's still the same today. The legal proceedings that we go through in the courtroom are the same legal proceedings that the church had people go through when the church was ruling. The church is still the government. That's what I'm telling you. So if you can just look over this collage with the commandments and all of that, and the courtroom proceedings, this collage in front of you says a lot, okay? Now I'm going to talk about this collage and bring up some parallels so you can see what I mean. When you go to church, there's a bunch of things that the pastor need from you. And these things that the pastor need from you are the same things that the courtroom need from you. They need confession. They need conviction. And they need testifying and testimonies. Now, I'm not going to repeat myself, so stay with me. I'm dropping some jewels right now. When you are a Christian, you are a bamboozled person who have been convinced that you committed a crime and you are a sinner, and now you need this lawyer called Jesus. Root word of lawyer is law. He's the one that's going to be the mediator between you and the judge, which is the Father in heaven. But when we talk about this Father in heaven, this was the ancient judge, the Pope, not a literal person. And I'm going to tell you, Christians, something now. Stay with me. For Jesus to be possible, there have to be a sinner. Just like for police to have a job, there have to be a crime. So if they can't convince people that you were born a sinner, there will be no need for Christ. A baby ain't do nothing wrong by being born, y'all. But since these people hate the womb, in their eyes, a baby is stained because it came out of a filthy vagina. So what the Bible is telling you is when a baby is born in a hospital out of a mother, the womb is cursed in their book. So the baby got to be born again by a man and washed from that dirty, stinky blood that his mama had on him in the hospital. People, this ought to make your heart hurt. If you understand the depthness of what I'm telling you now, you will see that for me to even teach this to you is taking a lot out of me. When they got so much hatred toward the womb and the woman, that when you were born and covered in your mother's blood, they said that made you filthy. You's a sinner. You need to be washed because you came out of a dirty womb. These are homosexual men who hate the vagina. They said you need to be born again through Jesus, man. Because when you came out of your mother's womb, by you touching that womb and coming out of that filthy, cursed womb, you got to be washed by a man. Do y'all get how sick this is? They got something against the woman in her life-giving womb. So when you're born, they say you're born a sinner, and now you got to be washed. So now they got religion and male gods to do the cleansing, to do the washing. And that's what religion is. It's a court system that convicts you, and your crime was being born of a woman. Your crime was being born of a woman. They don't want humans to be born. They want to manufacture them. They don't want you to have a mother. They want you to have a manufacturer. They don't want you to have a birthmark. They want you to have a barcode trying to wake you up. These people sick. So just like the courtroom, in order for Jesus to work, he got to convince you that you was already a sinner for being born. Now I'm about to drop some Jews. Take your notebooks out. The word conviction got the same root word as the word convince. I'm going to stop a minute because you need to think about that. I ain't going to repeat myself today. You're going to take notes because I'm giving you the Holy Grail. Listen, people. This how your law system works. I'm a black man. I've been running in with the law plenty of times. You don't have to do nothing wrong. If they could convince you to confess that you done something wrong, they'll put you in jail just the same. It ain't about you being guilty or not. It's about you giving a damn confession. I tell you what, walk your ass up in the police station right now and confess that you did something. They gonna lock your ass up. They'll see if you guilty or not guilty later. And you better hope that they do. Otherwise, you just played yourself. So it ain't about you being guilty or not guilty. When they get you up in that damn interrogation room, they want a conviction. They want a confession. They system can't work without a confession. That judge want a confession. Ain't nothing better than a confession. The best conviction to a court of law is a confession. They don't got to spend no damn money and they get the victory because you open your mouth. If they can get a confession out of you, that's the best thing. That man, look here. They had a good day as a police officer if he gave a confession. And that's the same thing about the Christians. The first thing a Christian wants you to do when you get in their church is confess. They want to convict you. And they ain't trying to hear, look, they ain't done nothing wrong, man. They ain't trying to hear none of that. In order for them to convict you and sentence you so that you got to stand before they judge, which is Jesus, you have to be in need of this proceeding. So the first thing a Christian want to know is first, do you believe in Jesus? Meaning, do you believe in the proceedings of what we about to take? Do you believe in the proceedings that you about to undergo? So a Christian, before they can even go through what they rundown, they got to know if you believe in Jesus first. Before a police can go through what they run down, they ask you, do you understand? It's the same thing. Do you stand under my authority? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe that this God is ruling over you? Do you stand under the authority of Jesus? So when a Christian asks you, do you believe in Jesus? It's the equivalent of a police that asks you for they can go through with their proceedings. Do you understand these legal proceedings? Because if not, then I got to break down to you the story, which is the law. God said he's the story. His story is the law, the way, the truth, the life. See what I mean here? You see now why we use this terminology. So, do you believe in Jesus? Do you understand? Do you stand under Christ? Okay? And the police ask you, do you understand? So the religious law is still in effect today. All right, and I'm going to show you. So when you tell them you believe in Jesus, the next thing they say, you know, are you sinning? How is your lifestyle? Because you know how this proceeding go. You know what Jesus asked for. You know what this God called Jesus is asking of you. So since you agree that you understand and you stand under this God and his law, and I ask you, do you believe in Jesus? And you say, yeah. So now I know you know the law of the God. You stand under this law like a police officer. Do you understand? Now I can go through with my proceeding. And after that, I can ask you, have you been keeping the motherfucking law? So when the police pull you over before they go into it, they want to know if you understand what's going on, if you coherent of everything. All right. Once you say you understand, you under that law now. Ain't no turning back out of it now. You done told this Christian you know about Jesus, so you can't undo the fact that you know about hell and all of this shit they about to threat you with and give you this law. So after you understand the law, now they ask you, is you keeping the law? Just like a police. Do you understand the law system? Okay, so why did you run that damn stop sign? Why did you blase? So the first thing is, do you understand? Do you believe in Jesus? Now, have you been keeping the law? Okay, have you been keeping Jesus's law? Okay, and if you say no, which they make it so damn hard to keep that the average person gonna be subject to it, just like my grandma have been in handcuffs before, man. If you've been living, you've been in cuffs before. Like, the law is crazy. If you jaywalk, you can go to jail. So this is not the law of nature. This is authority, commandments. People ruling you, saying you can't walk over here, you can't go over there. This is a royal dynasties that's ruling over us, y'all. And I'm showing you how the Christians did it first, because the government was the church. And I'm telling you that your government is still a church today by showing you how the proceedings are the same. So let me continue. So once they get you to know that you understand the law and you tell them, no, yeah, man, I've been screwing up out here. You know, I was raised in church, but, you know, I kind of left home and had sex with a lot of girls and made it rain. And, you know, I listen to Jay-Z, you know, I pray every now and then, you know, but it's only after I done beat somebody up because I'm asking for forgiveness. But, you know, I don't really go to church. So now the Christian got you now, okay? So you understand Christ, you know the law, but you're not keeping it. So now the Christian gets to advocate for your defense. You feeling me? Now the Christian get to bring you to his law firm. And who's the head of his law firm? Christ. And they the lawyer that's recruiting. Just like if you ever been through a court proceeding, it's the same way. All right. The name of the law firm may be Cochran family, but your lawyer may not be Johnny Cochran, man. It's going to be representatives of Cochran. Just like the Christians are representatives of Christ, and they bring you to the firm and they say, yeah, he know about you. He know the law. He been breaking it. We need to have a court proceeding. We need to cleanse this brother because he was born of a woman, and that's breaking the law. He need to be reborn through you and keep your law. And that's what the new world is, a rebirthing from the old world. But you don't want that. We want to go back to the old world. So what did it take to prosecute an individual in court? The same thing it took in the church, a confession and a conviction. So the police are dirty. They don't care if you did something wrong. They want to convince you that you're a criminal. And the word convince is the word conviction. So all convictions are just the government convincing us that we breaking a law that don't even exist, because the real law is the natural law. There should be no courtroom. They breaking natural law. They gonna be punished. No human should go through no legal proceeding, because it's criminals who running the shit. They the lawbreakers, not you. We can't be criminals. We immune. So in order for their system to work, they gotta convince you that you're a criminal. Just like a Christian gotta convince you that you're a sinner. And it's a fucked up game, man. Like when you got somebody there and you convincing this person of this phony proceeding, and you prosecuting these people because they don't know the law, and you convincing them that they doing something wrong, when really half of the people doing jail time shouldn't even supposed to be there according to real law. But they don't know that. So they get convinced and they get convicted. So the word convince and convicted are related, and they have the same root word, convict, which is convince, and get you a conviction. And now guess what? You're a convict. You're a convict, like Akon music. So once you're convinced that you're a criminal, you get convicted, and your conviction make you a convict. All right, that's how it go. And when you look at the word convict, it's a two-part word, con and vict, and it's simpler. It's simple. The word government is govern and meant because they're governing the mental. And once a mental is well governed, that's a victory. So once they convert your consciousness, it's a victory for them. They convinced you to believe in their ideology. That's converting your consciousness. So when you're convicted, the word is the word victory. Victor. All right. Vic is victory. That's why Mike Vick wrote a number 7. Number 7 dealing with victory. All right. Victor. So the 7 is the check mark. And I talk about that on my I got a video talking about the Sabbath and Septos, the number 7 and the step pyramids. The number 7 became the Nike sign, symbolizing victory. So the number 7 is the check mark or the Nike sign. We'll talk about that more. But make a long story short. So convict is consciousness victored. When you're convicted, your consciousness has been victored, meaning victimized. You're a victim now. You can't be the victim and the victor. Either you're the victor or the victim, and all of us are victims. We're no longer victorious. When we were in the golden age, we were victorious, but they cursed the golden age when they got rid of this type of symbolism in front of you. But I want to keep this collage in front of you while I talk about the court stuff. You see, because all of us today are convicts, been convinced that we need a government, and our consciousness have been victored. They've got a victory over our consciousness. They converted us and dumbed us down. So convict. Now that's some etymology for you. You need them both in church and the courtroom. You can't have a legal proceeding without a conviction. You can't have a church, a salvation proceeding in the church without conviction, without someone giving a confession and confessing their sins and feeling convicted, then Christ can come and, do the whole proceedings. So this judge called Christ was a literal judge, people. Remember that the government was the law. These gods ain't real. What was real was the government during that time, and the word president was Lord or God, Pope, But, of course, we can go deeper with that. So let me move on so I can hurry up and wrap this up. So confessions, convictions. All right. We went over that. Something else that we use in courtrooms, that we use in the church, that show you this same proceeding is being forced upon us today, is testimonies and testifying. Okay. So, and this again goes back to the testes of the Pharaoh. So you breaking this oath. Remember, all of us became partakers in our own destruction to help them rule over us, basically making you every last person that's dumbed down, serving the beast, is initiated into the New World Order. There's ranks to it. So if you just got a grandmother who's patriotic, she's a member of the New World Order. She may be a sweet lady, but her ideologies are that of Norman, which keep this system going, but it's okay. They don't know no better. But I'm showing y'all how we being played. Now, testimonies, what are they? In church, a person stand up and they tell you all the things that happen in their life that scared them, critical moments, tough mountains to climb over, obstacles in their life, things that they were going through that was so hard to get out of it. And they called on the name of Jesus, which is the name of Norman, and that things changed for them. And when they give their testimony, it's basically them reinforcing that if you respect our God's name, he'll do good things for you. But if you don't, he'll punish you. So this testimony in church is basically proof that God is real. So all of these testimonies give power to the God of the Bible. Every time somebody stand up there and raise their hand and give a testimony in church, it strengthens the belief system. All right. And it makes the power of that God more powerful because, hey, that woman lights was about to get cut off and she called on the name of Jesus and out of nowhere they got turned on. Now, nobody can explain nothing like that. Brother Sanchez don't believe in Jesus, but I wouldn't know what to tell a woman telling me that. So I wouldn't be able to convince her that Jesus ain't real to her just because her lights got cut on. Well, really, if she would have called a power company, they probably would have said, oh, we did that by mistake. Cut that shit back off. She didn't pay her bill. And you would have saw it wasn't really Jesus that gave you power. It was the damn Alabama Power Company or Las Vegas Power Company. All right. If it was Jesus that turned your lights on and he didn't turn everybody else's lights on that ain't got power, then he got favoritism. So understand how we make these gods real based upon our testimony. The same way, if you get caught up in the court of law, you can get messed up today, man. You can be innocent. And like I told you, these police can convince you and make you confess to something you didn't even do and get a conviction based upon convincing you. And once they do that, they can have people that are testifying to strengthen that story and give testimonies and pay them off the lie, and you'll never get out. So now they done convince you and manipulated your mind to get a confession out of you. Just like the Christians do. Don't say it can't be done. These people psychologists. There's so many guys in prison right now who was hypnotized in interrogation room and it's real magic. And they wake up sober like, how the fuck I get in here? What did I say? And they don't realize that these people got you on tape convincing you and making a confession in this room, practicing magic and psychological tools on you. And you're an innocent man who was just intoxicated and they done worked some magic on you in this room, convinced you, got a conviction, made you confess, and to solidify that shit, make sure when you sober up that you never get out of jail when you realize you've been played. They go hire people to give testimonies and testify to strengthen the story. You never get out of jail. You never see light again. Nothing you can tell the people that you innocent now and that they convinced you the police dirty, they manipulated me. No, buddy. Not only did you confess and you was convicted, but we got testimonies. People testified. Now these people be plants, man. But when you pair these plants with what you said out of your mouth, your fate is sealed, buddy. Whether you innocent or guilty or not, it's a wrap for you. So this court process ain't about getting the crooks off the street. It's about getting convictions, man. They get money for convictions. They don't give a fuck about people dying and trying to stop crime. Because if they stop crime, then the courtrooms will shut down. Won't be no more money. Police is out to get a new job. Burn up all the prisons. Why would they do that when that's their cash cow? So they ain't trying to get rid of murderers and all that off the street. This law system today is simply about convictions. They don't care if you did some or not. We want a conviction. And that's what the Christians all about. Once they see they can't get a conviction out of you, they shut your door and go knock on the next door. And whoever they can get to fess up to this crime, that's who get locked up into this prison cell called Jesus. Indoctrination. That's the same way your courtrooms work, people. Same way. So there is power in testimonies in church and in court. Now let me move on and see what else I've got on my list for you. So yeah, they gotta make you guilty to convict you. You got to be guilty. And when we talk about guilt, that's an inner thing dealing with the heart. When you doing something wrong, you have a feeling of guilt in your heart. Okay? And that's your heart keeping the law. The real law keeper is in the center of your chest, not in no courtroom, because they ain't keeping no law. They breaking the damn law. The real courtroom is in our hearts. And you going to feel guilty when you're doing something wrong, and that's supposed to stop you. Not you going to a courtroom feeling guilty, because you half of the time when you in front of them, you ain't done nothing wrong. So they got to make you guilty to convict you. And since you ain't guilty, that's when conviction come into play. Because in order for them to convict you, they got to make you guilty. But if you don't feel no guilt, that's when the magic come into play. And the word play, making you feel bad, man. Jesus died for you. You've been doing these people wrong in your life, beating people up, shooting people. Christ gonna get you. That's when the word play come in. That's when the police say, hey, man, you can keep telling us that you didn't do it, but I'm telling you, if you keep playing, man, it's just going to make the sentence even much tougher. So they put the pressure on you, and they create a false guilt that didn't originally exist in you. Now they got you convinced that you're guilty. And now you're convinced, so now you're convicted, and you're a convict now. But once you get over your guilt and you realize we are all not guilty and that they are guilty, then now we can start banging the goddamn hammers now. And now we can do the sentencing. Black power. So now, this proceeding is the same, and we see how it's the same way. So, I got a lot of different slides to go in on. And I better get right into it now. So let me move this. All right, we understand these commandments. You understand that they was moving away from the matriarch system and the worship of Hathor, and they was going into a patriarchal world under the new Pharaoh, and away from the goddesses. That cow represents the goddesses. All right, we left that with the beginning of this new law, And I just read the first law was don't worship no other images besides me. That was the first law on the 10 Commandments because they was building this law on top of the goddesses. They was, in other words, saying, if we catch you still fucking around with them goddesses and trying to live right and be the natural way and all of that, you're a witch. Today, when people talk about veganism, they call you evil. They say the Antichrist is a vegan and meat eating is part of the Bible. So they flipped everything backwards, y'all. All right, so this is what that picture represent, leaving her story going to his story and the new law being made now. So what was I going over in here? Okay, I don't know what I opened that for. But, you know, a lot of things, like I said, New Testament, Old Testament. See, when you look at this, it's like looking at BC, AD. BC, AD. Jesus Christ on the timeline of humanity represents year one, where AC meets, where BC meets AD. So when you count time down and you reach year one and you start counting back up again, that year one that sits in between BC and AD is representative of Jesus in between the Old and the New Testament. But this is no different than ma'at in between the two scales. This is called a dumbbell. Hold up a second. Hold up just a second here. This is called a dumbbell. Okay. It's the same thing as ma'at. So you see Old Testament, Jesus Christ, New Testament. All right. BC, Normer, and AD, where we at now, all the way up to 2018. This is same thing of ma'at. Past, present, future. Adam, snake, Eve. This is why the snake spoke balance. Good and evil ain't got nothing to do with morality. It's negative and positive, sun and moon creating balance. This is why you got Adam and Eve surrounding that serpent. Now that serpent was the goddess who was cursed. If you look at a medical symbol, they still have her wrapped around that tree of life. This is Ma'at, the serpent wrapped around this tree or this T. The tree is the capital T. Okay. Sacred geometry reveals the same thing the words reveal. Tree is 3. The capital T is 3 points, creating a triangle, which is a vagina, showing you what Ma'at represents, the uterus. 3 points. A capital T is 3 points. That's what the balance of scales is. You outline it, it'll be a delta, a triangle. Okay? So a tree outside is a TRI, a trinity. Trunk, branches, roots. You'll see these 3 points in everything related to tree. And you will also hear the word TR because phonetics relate to this too. So Ma'at represents truth, truth, truth. And she's the tree and the trio, the trinity. Okay, and you should try it. You should try it. You should try it. It's called balance. And when you do so, you will be triumphant. You will triumph. So when we want to be in our golden age state, we are victorious. We are triumphant because we are now living according to the Trinity, the tree of life, which is the earth, the womb. Now, this tree was chopped down and desecrated and was replaced with Christ splitting so there's a connection between you and nature. The Most High splits the entire creation in the middle, and everything in the creation is split in its center by the what we call the Most High. So in the center of every human is what's at the center of the earth, the heart pumping. Boom, 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 boom. And the earth have a heart too at the center that's pumping. Boom, 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 boom. And when the earth's heart pump in and out, it's what creates night and day, low tide, high tide, low tide, high tide. Now, I never been to the North Pole, but if we go there, we would see what the heart of the earth looked like. And I bet you it'll be beautiful, because the heart of the earth is where they have Jesus is and where Ma'at is. And it's what the sun and moon is going around. So one scale is sun, one scale is moon. This became Adam and Eve. So I'm kind of giving you some flat earth cosmology a little bit now mixed with this, you know. But I'm gonna just stop right there on the flat earth cosmology, because that's off subject. And I can do some more videos in the future, maybe take some Q&A in the future on that. But yeah, I just want to stay on this and stay on subject. So we can see this look just like Ma'at. This look like something that NASA is giving you called the ISS, the Internet Space System. It's a dumbbell. Okay, it's Adam and Eve and the serpent in the middle. All right, just keep that in mind, because that's what we're looking at when we look at the Ten Commandments. You're looking at past. All right, this past, this future, and right in the middle would be present. So whenever you bring two arches together, it automatically creates a third arch that's hidden in the middle. So if you look up here, here go an arch right here, and here go a tablet right here. And when you bring these two tablets together, you get a womb in the middle. You get a V, a vortex, a vagina. And that's what's happening at the North Pole, a vortex, a giant vortex. And that's what's causing the sun and moon to go around and around this vortex at the North Pole. Sun, moon going around and around. Just like your left brain and right brain is wrapped all around your pineal gland, which is your vortex that connects you to the Earth's pole. So there's a totem pole, a tower of consciousness at the North Pole, and there's one inside of you. Just like all of us got little cell phones with antennas on them, little antennas on them, but those little antennas are picking up a signal from a big old tower. And there's a little pineal gland inside of every human that should be picking up a signal from a big tower at the North Pole. But they've intercepted the signal, and we've been picking up that signal from the Bibles, the Qurans, and the world religions. And we're no longer getting the download from the true info center. The animals still connected to it. They don't read Bibles and stuff, but we are. And we got to get reconnected back and plugged in back into the source. And to do it, you got to unplug from the religious deception that hid the source. Now let's continue. All right, because we went over all of this, so I can keep going. Yes, I can move on. So this story here just show how Horus was given charge of the sky. But we know that the goddesses always personified the sky, like Nut and etc. But you can see here a picture of Horus the hawk. But look what's on his head, the crown of Narmer. So Horus is another form of Narmer or Atum, the first sun god. And remember, in the story of Horus was a big old homosexual act of the story of Osiris, Horus, and this resurrection story. It was basically the same thing that they did with Adam, where they had Adam giving birth in that homosexual myth. They did it with Horus and the rest of them. In Egypt too, they had another homo story of Osiris, or one of them ejaculating into the bird. I'm gonna go over that. Stay tuned for that. But that was them homosexual stories where they had to create life with men now, since y'all done cursed the woman. So you done got rid of the woman. Now you got to retell the masses how life was created without a womb. So now all of these gay mythologies and erected penises and sick stories start popping up in our spirituality. And Horus was another one of them. And you can see he got the double crown on of Norma. Okay. Now I was going to read this, but I definitely want to skip around because I'm kind of being pressed for time. I don't know if this was the one I was going to read. Yeah, here go the sixth story here. The gay god. You know, the Kemet. Shout out to the Hebrew Israelites out there. That's I fucks with the Hebrew Israelites because they be on the Kemetic folks' head about this sick shit. And I ride with my Hebrew Israelite brothers all day with it. We ain't got to all agree, but I sure enough ride with them with that because they like to deny that. Like, how do you try to dance around the bush with this? I mean, come on. I showed you a picture of a man with an erected phallus with another man with an erected phallus right next to him. If my girl busts in the room and I was standing up on hard and another man was standing in front of me on hard, our relationship would be over. And you Kemetic scholars wouldn't be able to explain shit to her. That's gay. So if you see these kind of carvings in Kemet, you better believe homosexuality was prevalent there, especially when the pharaoh was wearing more makeup than his damn woman. These Kemetic scholars don't want you to know that because they making money selling these damn ankhs and all of this gay symbolism shit. They making their money off it. Most of them gay. Most of them black Greeks. And for you to be a Kemetic scholar, you got to take an oath. I'm going to get into that later. I ain't ready for that yet. That's when we work our way up. We got to work our way up this Herstory, the Hisstory series. I'm going to get into Kemeticism and all that. Ain't nobody getting the pass. Trust me, Brother Sanchez going to be thorough. Now, let me finish this. Because here is another sick story. I told you earlier how they put a womb on Adam's rib. Since you done got rid of the female in the womb and cursed her, now you got to put a vagina on the man so he can give birth to the damn woman with your backwards ass. Excuse me, y'all. So here go another backwards ass story of these male patriarchal gods putting a womb on their body so they can give birth. So Adam had his vagina on his rib, and here goes Zeus. They just put heels on his head, and he gave birth to his wife and his children out of his damn top of his head. So they telling you what they want to do in the future. They already giving men hormones to change their body into women bodies. Now they just gonna start sewing pussies on them. All of this stuff happened in mythology first before it happened in reality. They was putting makeup and titties on all of them male gods when they overthrew the women and making she-male looking gods. Now when you go around the world today, you see all of these she-males walking around, some of them looking better than your woman because they got them on pills and all of this shit, transforming them. Just like they was transforming these gods before that. Before they had the technology to do that, literally, they had to make the ideal possible in your damn mind. The first gods was damn she-males. They was male gods that looked like they was women and had breasts and stuff. Look at the Baphomet is another one. The Baphomet is a form of Pan or Norma. And I'm going to show you what I mean in a minute. So yeah, they had to put the wombs on the male gods, man, so they can have a vagina to give birth. This god gave birth out of his head. Now, if they would have had the womb on the man Phallus, that would have been a dead giveaway. So they had to put the womb on the rib cage of Adam, and for him, they had to put heels on the head. Now, in future, when surgery step its game up and they start really taking this trans movement to the next level, I wouldn't put it past them that they're going to try to start putting wombs on men just like you see in this picture, because it's already conceived in their sick minds. Now, I'm about to wrap this up, but before I do, I wanted to show you something to tie together some parallels right quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, one little second. All right. All right. Check me out. Check me out. Check me out. So here's the Baphomet. Now, this is a form of a god that we call Pan. There was a god called Pan. All right. And all of your black fraternities worship the god Pan or the Baphomet. This is why all of your black fraternities are under the Pan-Hellenic Council. Just look up National Pan-Hellenic Council. And this is the bottom barrier of your world control, your sororities, your fraternities. These are your crisis actors. These are the people controlling me. You ain't gonna get to them big wigs unless you go through your daughters, your sons who are leaving your house pledging Kappa, pledging A Phi A, pledging Masons. These are the ones who are right there in between us and us getting to where we need to go. These are the Marines, the sellouts for the goddamn royal families. And they're all under the National Pan-Hellenic Conference. Everybody that's somebody in your world is part of this council. Especially all of your Kemetic scholars, most of your Hebrew Israelites, most of these men like, Malachi Yorks and your Dr. Benz and you name me a Greek master teacher who get respect. Even some of my favorite ones, and they all took an oath. They all joined a Greek fraternity. I didn't. But I can revere someone who sold out, just like your family, your grandma really sold out if she was a Christian. So it's all taking an oath and adopting a belief system of control. So you're going to love your loved ones, but that's how they keep it going. They use the people you love to do the work for them. So if the martial law took place, it'll be your children knocking your door down. Why? Because money, control, and God we trust. That paper dollar. That's how they do it. That's how they've always done it. So this god Pan is another form of Narmer. Earlier I showed you that this god Zeus Ammon is also the god Zeus. So here's Zeus right here. This is Zeus giving birth. This, in case you didn't know, this is Zeus giving birth to his wife. The story of Zeus is just the same story of Adam. Remember, Adam gave birth to his wife. These are backwards ass stories, y'all. So this the same. They've been telling it over and over in different forms. So the story of Adam is the story of Zeus. Atum is Zeus. All right, Narmer, man, Pan, and Zeus became Zeus Ammon, this god I just showed you right here. Now Zeus Ammon became Pan. You see him with his horns on his head? That's Zeus Ammon. That's Narmer. Now look at his erected cock. Look at his phallus hanging out. Don't that look familiar? And he got one in his mouth. They said he blowing on a flute. I'm just playing. That was just a joke. He blowing a flute because he was a god of music. I'm just playing. But he got an erected phallus. And again, this is Narmer. This is Zeus Ammon. Hold up a second, guys. So when I talked about Zeus Ammon and Osiris with this erected phallus, I'm telling you, this the same God. Earlier, we talked about the fake beard. You see him with the fake beard right here? You see him with his one hand raised, fake beard, one hand raised, and an erected cock. We know right there we dealing with Norma or Menes. Now look at the thumbnail in front of you. Look in the bottom left corner. We see the same parallels. One hand raised, a fake beard, and an erected cock. Y'all got to keep the parallels and the symbolism in mind. Erected cock, one hand raised, and a fake beard. You see that right there? That's Norma. You see it right here, but they calling him Osiris. It's the same story they keep telling of this same unified God. All right, so you see them parallels there. And this Zeus is Zeus Ammon. You see his horns up there on his head. This is Narmer, Menes, man, Atum, the god Pan. Here he go with his horns. And here he go with his erection. This is why we say the word horny. It was the horn gods who was horny. They had the erection. So because we talking about fertility, resurrection, rise, erection. But for the first time, you had the man personifying resurrection, when really the man is a result of resurrection that the womb is responsible for. The womb is what resurrects us. The womb is what put together the pieces of Osar. If you know the story when his body got chopped up, that's what happened when we die. We decompose, but we reincarnate through a womb. It's the womb that remember us. Why are you saying remember, bro Sanchez? Because they told you that the body of Osar was dismembered. If I dismember you, I chop up all your body parts and then you die. But when people remember you, they put all of your body parts back together in their mind. I can chop you up, but that don't mean you chopped up eternally. Your spirit ain't chopped up. And your spirit gonna continue to give birth to your body over and over again. So it's called memory. It remembers who it is. So when it goes out of existence, it remembers to come back into existence. This is the story of Asar. When your body go in the ground, it goes into little pieces, it decomposes. And then you are remembered in the womb of another woman. And I think when we reincarnate, we look exactly the same. Because they got celebrity photos of like Jay-Z and different celebrities that look exactly the same. It's you, it's who you are, man. So we are remembered in the wombs of our next mother who remember your facial features. That womb remembers your fingerprint. It remembers who you was when you died in the previous life, and it puts you back together. That womb is a portal, and it's beautiful. That's where the magic happens at. But that womb was hidden from us, and the magic of it was hidden. The ancestors can tell you stuff about the womb that'll blow you away. They was able to travel through and out the womb in lifetimes, not going inside of a woman, but the womb ain't limited to just that organ. But I wanna hurry up and wrap this up. Now listen, make a long story short, that womb, that great womb, was now personified under a man. So that womb represent resurrection and fertility. When they took that away, for them to show you resurrection and fertility, the next best thing they can show you when they cursed that womb symbol was just a hard cock. If a man is gonna personify himself as a womb, but he don't have a womb, the next best thing he can give you is his hard cock. And the science today is backwards, because they teaching you that the man carry the egg. They telling you that the sperm is the damn egg, and that you are the sperm, that the child is the sperm. The child ain't the sperm. The child is the damn egg that's in the mama. The sperm ain't nothing but a light spark that activates that consciousness and give it movement and power. A robot is programmed to say shit, to walk and to light up with different colors. But if you don't put no battery in it, it ain't gonna move. That's what the sperm is, the spark, the electrical discharge. That's why they call it a discharge. It's liquid light. The sperm is spark, it's liquid light. And it penetrates the egg and the light switch comes on. The robot starts to form. It comes into, that's the power button that activates it. But it's not the person. It's part of the person. It's the life spark of the person. But their subconscious, who they already was already in their next mama. So the man don't hold an egg, he hold a spark that fertilizes the egg or activate it to tell it, okay, time to manifest your potential. But everything who you are is already in that egg. The spark from the man just tells it to go and manifest, but it's already there. Everything about you is already there in that egg, but it don't get manifested till the man gives the electrical discharge. That's when you manifest, because the man is festering you. And so they have a festival when you manifest. They have a festival. Okay? Now, that's what the man does. He manifests the potential that's already in that egg. And this is a divine role, man. So we should play our role instead of going around saying, oh, we got the eggs in our nutsack. That's what they tried to do with Adam. That's why they put a goddamn vagina on these male gods with they sick ass. And you dumb Negroes walking around, bro Sanchez, you wrong, because the sperm is the egg. You ain't got no eggs in your nutsack, you fool. A man walking around with eggs in them. I used to go fishing. I never caught a male fish carrying no damn eggs. I'm telling y'all that they reversed the roles in science. They reversed the roles in mythology. So now let me get back on subject. This God that you looking at called Pan with his erected phallus again is Zeus Ammon, and it's this god Osiris, and it's also this first pharaoh Norma. Now let's take a look at man. All right, this god is called Man, M-I-N. He's also called Moon. So the god Man became the god Amin. And we have words like amino acids. Okay, amino acids. All right, so when you say Amen, you're talking about this God here, and at the end of every prayer, you say, Amen, because they're giving praise to the first pharaoh that established their dynasties. Better take notes. Everything we do based upon creation got the root word of this first God in it. Look at it, man, mineral, menstruation, mental. You know what I'm saying? So our man is our moon. And when you say testament, we're talking about the testament of our man. When you say testament, you're talking about the testes of Amen. This God is Amen. And he swore on his testes to create the New World Order. So when you say Amen, you're giving power to his order and his dynasties that still rule over us today. So the Bible is separated by the two testaments, or the two testes of Amen, meaning the time before his kingdom and the time after his kingdom is how you get Old Testament and New Testament, BC and AD. Now let's move on. You can see that we're under the testament of Amen, meaning the testes, the nutsack of the pharaoh, the lineage of the god. All right, and this is what the Baphomet is showing you with the dual serpents on the phallus of the male. So when you look at this Baphomet creature, You are looking at one of the biggest blasphemies ever. Now, I give credit to the sick gods before this one, because at least when I showed you Zeus earlier, they put his vagina on his head and they put Adam's vagina on his rib. Even though it's sick, I give them credit for not trying to put it, where the woman's go. Like, that would have been a dead giveaway and just a big blasphemy. Like, come on, y'all. Even though they doing it now anyway. But when you look at this Baphomet, they straight up places the uterus right there on his phallus area. So when you see these dual serpents, we know that represent the uterus. We know that the line in the middle represent the canal. The line in the middle of the T, that's the canal, the vaginal canal. And the crossroads at the top is where you go to each arm of that uterus. And so another way of writing that is a pole with dual serpents wrapped around it. And that was the symbol of life. That's the Medusa of the mother. And they put the fucking uterus right smack on this male god and gave him a set of boobs. And this is why the Baphomet is a transsexual. This is why they want everybody in this world today to be transsexuals. Don't you know the new standard of beauty is transsexual? Don't you know when I first started seeing transsexuals with the fake butts and the fake lips, we used to joke on it. Now the goddamn celebrity women doing it. Nicki Minaj look like a tranny. And they making this shit sexy of having a plastic booty and fake lips in this tranny type look. So when they get you attracted to a real woman that look like that, then they can show you a fake woman that look just like her. You won't care if it's a man, because it's all visual hypnotization. They've already invaded your damn mental when they made you accept the fake shit on a woman and took her natural body parts away. So if you look at fake boobs and fake lips and fake booties on a woman and get turned on, you're suspect. Because a plastic ass don't wobble like a real ass. And like Kendrick Lamar said, I like a little stretch marks. So all of this new plastic shit, that's the tranny look. If they can sell you that, they can sell you a plastic womb and a synthetic woman and get rid of the woman species altogether and just create a world where the woman is a doll and it's just men fucking dolls and each other. That's what they want. That's what they want. So this Baphomet put the uterus on the man and put boobs on the man. If you say that sick is normal today, there's plenty of men out there with boobs and a pussy. They getting the procedure done. There's plenty of Baphomets out there. So the Baphomet represents an ideology. The Baphomet represent the mentality of the sick people who thrusted us into the New World Order. You're under the god called Baphomet right now. His name is Pan. Okay? So, this is an anti-womb type of ideology, societies that pride themselves on being a man's world, okay? Now let me start to begin to wrap this first portion up, and we'll come back with part 2 later. But part 2 to this won't take place until after we have our open panel. I promised people I was going to have an open panel today. And I'm going to try to still do that, but it's got kind of late now. And, it's a busy day for me today. If I don't go back live tonight, I'll go back live tomorrow, definitely. And I got to have an open panel Q&A with you guys. And I got to do part 4 to this live thing, where we're going to go more into this royal succession and the testaments, how we doing here now. So I'm going to do Herstory, Hisstory 3, like I'm doing it now. And then Herstory, Hisstory 4, we'll wrap up this portion where we're talking about the testaments and how the succession work. And we'll move to something else. 4 should wrap it up with this. And like I said, both of these will be live right here. and I'll just upload them later on Bro Sanchez TV for parts 3 and 4. And we're going to continue the series. Part of it going to be live, like I said, like we're doing it now. So I'm going to go on, let this be the ending part right here, to wrap it all the way up and bring it home with the most sickest picture now. So we'll end it on this, and this is going to be like the climax to everything I've been teaching you. And this is when Nut was replaced with the Pharaoh. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that Nut and Geb is a beautiful story of man and woman procreating. And you know, in a lot of the Nut and Geb stories, Geb has an erected phallus that's reaching up into the vagina of his woman. So if you look at Geb, he got an erected phallus, but there's a woman above him, so that's okay. This was pre-corruption, so to speak, but still patriarchal society. Just hasn't been corrupted to goddess quite yet. Now this was transformed into, hold up a second. This was transformed into an erected cock over a male bird. Now they're so sick, they knew they couldn't put a man up there for him to be having sex with a man. So they put a bird. But it's still a male bird, so it's still homo. All right, so in original story, it was Nut, not this bird. And it got so corrupted as time moved on that they just went on and put a man up there. So what you looking at now is a male deity in the place of Nut hovering over Geb. And you can see that this male deity is Narmer, the first pharaoh. How do you know, Bro Sanchez? Here go the fake beard I was telling y'all about. That's a fake beard. If you look at this Nut right here, because look, she got breasts. She got breasts and she don't have a beard. So this is okay over here. This is natural. Right here on the left, this is homo. Fake beard. This is a man, no breast, in the place of Nut. And he's hovering over another man. They both naked with their erections, just like I showed you with the first pharaohs in this picture up there on the top left. It's the same thing. So you see Narmer's phallus reaching all the way up to his chin, and his balls right here coming from between his legs as he hover over Geb, and Geb's phallus, where it used to be up pointed toward his woman, is now bent over in his own mouth, and he's giving himself fellatio, because when you don't have a womb, you have to have all of these sick stories for sexuality. Everybody know creation happened from sex. So when the ancestors talked about cosmic creation, they used sex to explain it. But when you curse one of the roles in sex, being a female, and take her out of it, that's how you get these unnatural trinities that said Father, Son, Holy Ghost instead of Father, Son, and Mother. They take the woman out and make her into a bird. And that's what happened right here. They took the woman out and turned her into a bird. So that became the Holy Ghost. Horus is Jesus. Now, let me wrap this on up. So they got Geb giving, he basically ejaculating into his own mouth and creating life that way. Because if he had his woman up there, then he wouldn't be giving himself head. He'll be having her do it or having sex with her. But when you take the woman away, you create homosexuality and spirituality and in mythology and our psyches. And if you look at the world today, it's a result of all this sickness that's in our spirit. And the Kemetic scholars don't want to deal with it because everybody making money. So all of this corruption got to be dealt with so we can see how this world was created, man, and get into this. But nobody in the black conscious community want to show you that our ancestors were discorrupted. Yes, everybody, man, our ancestors didn't do nothing wrong. They weren't gay, wasn't no gay person living then, like a fool. You think gay people just came onto the earth because you're a dumbass who got too much ego and pride. And since you can't be wrong, you can't get right. You one of them. Can't get right. So you see Gab doing a sick act, giving himself head, but you'll get a comedic scholar up here to tell you a bunch of bull crap to make it okay. Well, see, what he's doing is he's showing you how fertility is important because the male strength of the male's phallus just deserves to be in his own mouth. They'll sell you some dumb shit like that. Well, you're looking at it wrong. No, motherfucker. I know what I'm saying and I'm comparing it to what it came from. They shouldn't have changed it. This is unnatural. It's man and woman. And I can show y'all something else before we go. See, what you looking at with this is the first gay trinity. When they replaced the woman. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Ain't no woman in that. That's three men talking about that's the trinity of life. How three men gonna give you life like a fool? Let me show you where it come from. This called a triple phallus. I ain't making this shit up. This carved in the wall. 3 dicks don't stick. They turned the great trident of the mother, which represent the uterus, into 3 dicks. And you start seeing these kind of gods all around with their dicks hanging out. Because everybody wanted to be like the first pharaoh. So if you look at all of these dudes today, what they go around doing? Grabbing their nuts. Don't they go around grabbing their nuts just like normal? Didn't Michael Jackson do it? All of these black men, don't they grab their dick all the time? They don't even know they doing it. Just talking to you, grabbing their nuts. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, man. You know what I'm saying? And they think that shit cool to grab their nuts. Michael Jackson did it. And they don't know where it come from. It come from right here. This was the thing. This was a symbol of power. Grabbing your nuts, showing that, hey, these nuts that I'm holding, ruling over the world. The nuts that I'm holding carries the royal succession of the people who rule the world. That's why he touching it, along with the homosexual stuff. So, you know, this was a sign of power. And to this day, men do this. But it's all gay. We got to get rid of it and put the womb back where it belongs. Father, Son, Holy Ghost don't create life. Man, woman, child does. And when we think like that, we get these sick images like this with 3 cocks. And this come from the ancient world when we first start falling into consciousness. We made a trinity without the woman, a homosexual trinity. It's the triple phalluses. And it come from Kemet. The Kemetic people can't tell you it don't come from Kemet. It come from Kemet. I just showed you where it come from. With Gab bent over, giving himself head. And a bunch of most sick ones I can show you from Kemet and all over. Even the Indians adopted this crap. So here it is, the male with an erection carrying the uterus in his hand, because now he can give life. Get real. Anybody that's worshiping Hermes and talking about they Hermes and all of this hermetic shit, get away from them. They gay as hell. I ain't gonna mention their name. But some of them on flat earth. Yes. Some of them first names sound like devil. That's all I'm gonna say. They got a lot of spookism. They do a lot of North Pole videos. But they go by the alias Hermes. And they deal with Greek astrology and Gregorianism. Yeah, they on the flat earth. I ought to call them out. Mr. Magi. Hermes, my ass. If you can't look at that guy and tell you he fruited, something wrong with you. He pushing this same patriotic pharaonic shit under the flat earth. And a lot of more of them doing it. You better wake up. Keep telling y'all heliocentrism ain't got shit to do with the shape of the earth. It's got something to do with the shape of your deity. Is it a womb or a dick? Which one you came out of? I don't know about you. I came out of my mama womb. And I sure love my daddy and put them in and eat, and they both are equal. But if you don't respect the part that nursed you, you won't respect shit. And that's where we are in today's world. So, yeah, your triple phalluses. We're going to talk more about that in the future. Don't worry. I just wanted to end on that because it was a good thing to bring up before we closed out. So I think this is a good place to close. I'm going to hurry up and do part 4 of this so we can move on along. And what I'm going to do to the people who wanted me to do the open panel, I'm still going to do that. But I'm going to go live again and knock out part 4 real quick to this so I can be through with this and be relaxed. And then after that, I'll go with the open panel and we can just talk about what we want to talk about. But I want to knock this out, completely before we do that. So this is a good stopping point. So I'm going to stop right here. And I'm going to take a break. It's been 3 hours. Make it about a good enough time for editing. And if I don't be back tonight, I will be back tomorrow. So let me just look at the donations because I don't want to leave without shouting you guys out. Let me give a shout out to Opinionated Asshole for the donation. Thank you so much. And a big shout out to my brother Lightwork, huge supporter. And I appreciate your support. Flat power to you. The FU Tour. Shout out to you, and I really appreciate your $20 super chat donation. I really appreciate that. Damon Haynes gave a super chat donation. Said, man, I get to geeking when Thursday come around. This mean a lot to me, man. The encouragement, the support. I fucking love y'all. And, I go hard like this because if you appreciate what I do, I'm going to keep doing it. And if I can get paid telling the truth, hey, man, I appreciate y'all's support. I did it for free, so I do it for a living. Like I said, some people want to get rich doing something that they really don't want to do because they want to be rich. But I don't want to get rich. I just want to feed myself doing what I love to do and doing something where I can still be noble and have respect from the Most High doing it, knowing I didn't compromise. So if I only make what the people give me, if I live a humble, noble life as a truth teller, and long as I'm able to provide my basic necessities, then that's a blessing because I can do something I love to do. And I don't have to be compromising nothing I say because I work for a job that's paying me and I need them to pay me. No, the people support me. And I want to give a shout out to Ann. Said, do you know about the Palantir orb? No, I don't. Never heard of it. And in my next live stream open panel, I will bring that back up to everybody so they can put me up on game. Let me give a shout out to Wiz Jizz. That name, man. Thank you for your support, bro. And let me give a shout out to AKM. Said, thank you for your hard work. Love the knowledge. I thank you for your viewership and for liking and sharing. And I really thank you for your support because that's going the extra mile. And let me give a big shout out to the brother Derek Ballard. Just hit me in with a super chat right before we close. Said, you are so appreciated, bro, for this truth. Flat power. Thank you again for your work. And I just gave you a wrench, DB. And I appreciate you, man. Flat power. And speaking of that, after I wrap up these series, I'm going to do some giveaways. Because I got some t-shirts and I got some stuff to give away. So I'm going to pick a number in between maybe 1 and 300 or something like that. And we'll do a drawing. You want to enter it. I'm going to make a video showing you how to play and participate. And we'll pull a number. And the one who get closest to my number, then I mail you guys out some gifts. Because I got some flat power stuff for y'all. So Stay tuned for that. And that's going to be very soon because I don't want to hold this stuff. I'm ready to mail it out and give it away. All right. So appreciate everyone for your donations. And somebody said, okay, cool. I got to get out of this chat. I got to go. But check this out. Shout out to you guys out there holding it down in the chat room. And I can't wait to talk to y'all on this open panel. But you know I got to finish this 3 and 4 of this series. So I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. Y'all behave, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace out.